Thanks, Keith. Good evening. It's 6 p.m. and I'd like to call the November 3rd special board meeting of the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education to order. Mr. Burnside, please take the roll call.
Board Member Nubia Duval-Wilson.
Here.
Board Member Regina Eckert.
Here.
Board Member Bill Gifford.
On his way.
Board Member Alyssa Malaspina.
Here.
Board Member Kawi Tellisford.
Here.
Board Member Arun Vadlamani.
Here.
Board Member Courtney Winkfield.
Here.
Board President Caitlin Whitletter.
Here.
Board Member Johanna Wright. Thank you.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please take note that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the following manner. A written notice was sent from the Office of the Secretary of the Board at 1:30 p.m. on October 31st, 2023. That said notice was sent via email to Maplewood and South Orange Township clerks and the editors of the News Record, Star Ledger, and the Village Green. Tonight's special meeting was called to discuss the superintendent. The superintendent received a rice notice at least 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Dr. Taylor has made the decision to have any conversations related to his performance in public session instead of closed session this evening. The board will move to a short closed session discussion to discuss attorney-client privilege matters only. We will reconvene thereafter for public speaks and then a discussion about Resolution 4536 A through C up for action this evening. Before I make a motion to go into closed session, I'd like to offer the floor to Dr. Taylor for his superintendent statement.
Thank you, Madam President. Keith, are we queued up? Please. Good evening, South Orange and Maplewood School District community. I hope you are doing well this Friday evening. I'm speaking to you via video because at 2:15 p.m. today, I received the resolutions for this evening. As this is highly unusual, and I'm not sure when or if I'll be able to address you again, I took the liberty to record this message. As the community, you should be aware of what is occurring in the governance of your school district. I hope that everyone received our update earlier today, along with responses to Samea's leadership's recent action. For those wondering why we are here on a Friday evening before fall break, you should know a few facts. For those who have attended these meetings before, you know that I do not normally talk about myself and my own journey, nor my professional challenges. But I feel that I owe this to the community and to those who have tirelessly supported this generational work. Give me 1 second here. My journey. For those who are not aware, I'm a graduate of Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, and the first in my direct bloodline to graduate with a 4-year degree. I completed my doctorate of education in educational administration and policy studies at Washington University, a top 20 graduate school for education in the U.S. I've been a public educator for 28 years with stints as a teacher, assistant principal, regional superintendent, and now 13 years as a highly respected superintendent of schools. Prior to agreeing to come here to SOMSD, I was the superintendent of Willingboro Schools and completed close to $70 million in school construction and received recognition for our academic gains. During that time, I was serving on the statewide equity committee, the NJASA. Recently, I've also spoken at the National MSAN Conference in Wisconsin and addressed the joint committee for the state legislature regarding school integration, specifically presenting on the success we've experienced with our intentional integration initiative, which I led the design and adoption of for our district. So far, more than 2,500 students have been placed via the III at our elementary and middle schools. Our work has also been lauded and shared by the ALVS Group, who has been a leader in this work for more than 40 years across the country. They call our work innovative and able to be replicated by others. They also shared with me that year 3 is always the most challenging year of this work. My performance. For those who may not be familiar with how I am evaluated, I've shared many times during our board meetings in the fall usually that the board and I work together to create district goals, and I am evaluated at the end of each school year regarding our success at meeting them. Many other steps are, of course, a part of this process, but that's the gist. I can share that at the conclusion of my evaluation in June of 23, recently, this board rated that I satisfied each of our agreed upon district goals. I can also confirm that I have not received any adverse action, write-ups, or reprimands in my almost 5 years in our district. So here are my evaluations from last June, to be transparent. I know it's small, but for those who are watching later or online, as you can see, each district goal has a sheet that I'm going to show you, and in the middle, it has whether or not it was satisfied along with all the evidence that was shown and comments from the board. Let's talk about non-renewals. Most are aware that my contract is up at the end of June, and like any other superintendent in our state, the board can make the determination if that contract is to be renewed. There are timelines around when that occurs. While I have never experienced a non-renewal in my career, I have no power to influence the next board outside of my performance and our future interactions. There are also lame duck rules and understandings that guide us here in New Jersey. One very important one is that a current board cannot bind a future board via their decision, especially a few days before election. A well-known case is often mentioned regarding past litigation on this matter. This comes directly from the New Jersey School Board Association. And these are well-known presentations that happen every year across our state. It speaks about boards not binding the future board. It mentions the case study and the connections to the legal advice that we receive in school districts. I have to discuss the board president's pattern of behavior. What you see here are emails that were sent, and I'm going to tell you about them. These are from April 22nd, 2022. This became a pattern as our board president continued her service. The pattern was to ask and ask and ask the same questions to different sources until you receive the answer you want, or in some cases, manipulate the responses you receive to reflect the answers you sought. To be specific, those last 2 emails, I'm going to read them to you. Give me just one moment. This is my commentary. In my 28 years of doing this, I have to just share that I've never felt as monitored, as policed, or as disrespected as I have under the current board president. And I have countless examples of this, but those emails that I showed you were a few, and I'll read them to you. On April 22nd, 2022, after just a few months on the board, at the time, our current board president, while most folks are acclimating themselves to their roles and responsibility, this person sent an email to me and copied the then board president and vice president. The email was regarding the Start Strong in JDOE update presentation that was shared by our C&I department. The email was just highly unusual, as the current board president informed me that she had a call with John Bozani from the Office of Assessment in the state of New Jersey's NJDOE. As a board member, to reach out to the state offices is again highly unusual. The email continued to ask, quote unquote, if we misrepresented data to the board and the public based on the call that on her call that was made. I was shocked by this, but politely responded, quote, what I shared earlier this week is the extent of the information I have available to me, and the slides and presentations were taken directly from the NJDOE and its training. I'm not familiar with this John person, but I will share this with our county superintendent to make them aware that you are stating that his comments are contrary to that of the previous state trainings and documents that we had. But then the now board president then escalated the matter by copying this person from the state office, sharing the information that she found. I responded to that email by saying, I am not comfortable having a further back and forth on this topic while including folks from outside of our district. I've spoken with our county superintendent about this concern, and I'll be forwarding him this information for his review and determination of next steps, if any. Again, the slideshow and the attached presentation from the state guided our implementation. I would not characterize that as a footnote, et cetera, et cetera. And then the gentleman from the state confirmed what we did was indeed correct, and we followed the state guidelines. This exchange alarmed me, as not only was it outside of the role of a board member, but there was a feeling of prosecution coming from someone who had little to no experience in this realm. Additionally, once the gentleman debunked these assertions, there was no further response or thanks from the new board member. And our attorney again also confirmed that these communications were very concerning. The board president and our attorneys. I've witnessed our board president hold a Monday evening virtual meeting with 3 of the district's law firms at one time on January 30th of 2023, discussing whether or not board member Malaspina would be able to vote on the matter during a special meeting after the matter had been previously decided by a vote of the board. While I supported the settlement that was being discussed, this was just highly irregular. Again, trying to find one firm who would agree with the answer that she was looking for after the firm responsible gave her the advice that she found unsatisfactory.
You're good. You're good. That's good, Keith. You can start there. From Ms. Febris's slide.
That she did not agree to be used as a pawn in what seemed to be a personal action that wasn't supported by the board. Please remember that during this time, while all the discussions were happening, you might recall that the board motioned to remove the now board president from her post as vice president. Do you remember which board member showed incredible grace and forgiveness? Who offered the olive branch to save her from such embarrassment? Dr. Tellisford. His vote saved this person from that, the person who was obsessing over punishing him. Let's talk about the rise of the EC. Some may recall I served a few weeks of jury duty last year. It was a very serious trial and was very taxing and emotionally draining. Even with this being the case, I worked in the evenings to respond to all my emails, to attend board committee meetings, and I updated the board regularly. To my surprise, after the 2023 board election, the new board president, who's our current board president, and the executive committee, the two vice presidents, requested a meeting with me. They then shared with me their expectations. I was surprised that a body of 3 board members would communicate board expectations. Again, I work for the board, which is a body of 9 duly elected members and takes 5 members to make a quorum. As I previously mentioned, we have a very formalized goal process and evaluation process that is housed within the New Jersey School Board Association. Nevertheless, I met with the EC and they shared their expectations. And here's a list of the expectations that were shared. Here's the actual document of the expectations that were shared with me. It became very apparent that this EC was working as their own quasi-board of education. Please again know that these and all other employment issues for me as superintendent are governed by my contract with the board. When the EC mentioned working from home in particular, I was taken aback. And I shared with them that almost no one in district was working from home, and certainly not me. The rare exception being a few secondary teachers who were dealing with COVID, but to their credit, still wanted to teach their students virtually and had very specialized courses that a substitute would have a significant challenge teaching. I also reminded them of my weeks of jury duty and all the updates that I gave the board. While I already provided a robust weekly update packet as a best practice to our board, this left me uneasy because of this apparent bias and lack of trust. To address this, I began giving the board weekly or bi-weekly reflections that included a listing of the meetings that I held or attended, which could include standing meetings like President's Council or my district admin team or the principals or the Morris Union Jointure Commission, where I serve as a board member, the Chamber of Commerce, Achieve, CPAC. I attend these meetings. They are standing meetings within my month, just to name a few. So that board members could, see more into my daily operational schedule, although this is beyond their purview. A few board members thanked me for this, but here's an example of one of those updates. Sorry, it's a little small. In fact, board member Wingfield responded with concerns over this new EC process almost immediately and the perceived policing of me. She shared the following: "It is also important for me to lift up how this appears to function racially, especially as carried out by an executive committee led by 2 white women. I'm attaching an article that I hope you will all take time to read when you have time." And it speaks about the article and the physical surveillance of Black men and the resulting social cognitive impact. And so here's the article. I want to emphasize that this new EC process is not normal. It's not typical for a small subset of the board to have so much access to the superintendent. a weekly meeting that lasts multiple hours, and a platform to offer criticisms and concerns. I've been a superintendent, as I've said before, for 13 years and never witnessed or heard of anything like this. The EC taking minutes of our meetings and providing spreadsheets of board member questions to our weekly Friday packet is a way of directing me and our team via these documents. This is not normal. This is not customary. This is overreaching. Nor is it normal for the board's first vice president, who is a public school employee, to continuously email the superintendent and participate in calls throughout her workday, which should be dedicated to the children of the district where she works. The board president sending emails stating what the board wants, and then many members not aware of these communications is not normal. This is not making sure the district is well run. This is attempting to run the district per our many New Jersey School Board Association trainings. And here's some examples of that. These are annual trainings that all boards and superintendents utilize. I'm talking about the responsibility via the ethics. Can we talk about the EC's role in what some have called the attempted Thursday night massacre on May 11th of 23? I was surprised as superintendent to receive an email that was dated several weeks before that, April 26th, from the first vice president, with our board president copied, informing me that the board would not have enough votes to renew a principal at our upcoming reorg meeting scheduled for May 11th. This was particularly surprising as I had not made any indication to the board about any concerns or dissatisfaction in this person's performance. This was not a question for me regarding their renewal. But furthermore, the first vice president is not on the board's personnel committee and is an NJEA member, so not able to discuss many things that happen in our personnel committee. So for this person to be informing me of this fact with no knowledge was highly unusual and concerning and maybe unethical. As she copied our board president, unfortunately, it was clear to me that this was yet again an example of the EC functioning in secret to serve a board within the larger board to enact that personal agenda. And here's that email.
I know we have more video there. Patrick, are we not allowed to show? Okay. That concludes my comments, if that's all that I can share.
With that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn into executive session at 6:24 PM to discuss matters of attorney-client privilege. The length of the executive session is estimated to be 20 minutes, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene. We will have public speaks, and then action will be taken. Thank you.
The attorney stopped the presentation, so,
We were just moving past that section.
all right, so we'll just pause until we move.
He needs to be
All right.
allowed to finish his presentation. If the attorney wants him to move past a particular part, that's the attorney's prerogative, but he needs to be allowed to finish his presentation.
Courtney, no one is arguing that. Dr. Taylor made it seem as if the rest of the presentation could not be shown, which is why we were making a motion to go into executive session. He can finish the presentation. No one's stopping it. Thank you.
did that come from? Why would she purposefully make my employment further hostile in a meeting that began at 6:30 p.m. and did not end until 1 a.m.? The board, on this topic of non-credit, and this is also in our response to Somaya's vote of no confidence, the board received a concern from Somaya's president last spring. They were concerned with the number of students of non-credit status. The board president asked our attorney to investigate this. Our principal and his team responded to many questions. As the weeks continued, the investigation produced more and more questions, follow-up questions after the first were satisfied. And each time, our principal and his team in our office responded graciously with voluminous amounts of evidence. And so then, at the end of this review, as you may have read in our response to Somaya, quote, as a result of the allegations regarding the district credit recovery system, the district's legal review determined that pre-Dr. Taylor Board Policy 5200 and Regulation 5200 authorized avenues for credit recovery consistent with other board policies governing attendance and graduation and student assessment. Further, it was determined that the recommendations were adhered to with fidelity. Why would the board president say something disparaging like that about Columbia in public when she knows that nothing was done wrong? Why would she not instead recognize and emphasize that our high-stakes standardized test results show that many of our academic results have surpassed pre-pandemic levels of student achievement, which was shared during that same meeting? One could surmise that it could be that the board president's repeated fruitless investigations into me, into other board members, and our district admin will continue to impact the trajectory of increased legal bills that was on a steady decline for 3 consecutive years. For 3 consecutive years, our legal bills were declining, but now they have increased by more than $200,000. New business. Has anyone noticed how before our current board president became president, she would faithfully bring up topics for new business? But now that she is board president, she has dissuaded all other board members from doing so repeatedly. Is there a pattern here? What pattern do we see? A board member whose actions appear to unethically only seek the answer that they want from the board's attorneys. The board's attorneys. A board member who jumps to biased conclusions that suit and meet their narrative and only seeks out confirmation for that narrative. A board member who has attacked and looks to monitor and prosecute the board's Latinx female attorney, the Black male board president, her Black male board member colleague, and the first Black superintendent of SOMSD, who last year satisfactorily completed each agreed upon district goals and has never received a reprimand of any kind from any board that he has served. Conclusion. I can go on and on to discuss other concerns around the EC's micromanaging, but I will close on this. Please do your own research regarding whatever actions come out of this meeting. What circumstances in the past, here and other places, have resulted in a chief school administrator receiving an adverse action from a soon-to-be lame duck board the Friday before an election? What type of allegations led to such a significant proceeding? What happened? Did the superintendent just say something that a few board members did not agree with? Did the board sending the superintendent on admin leave weaken the district, spending tens of thousands of dollars for a disagreement? Or was it something more significant? What type of litigation and settlements from public funds come from circumstances that did not follow progressive discipline? What will come out if there are future depositions that call for the review of cell phone records of all involved? In conclusion, as well, regarding the Somea vote of no confidence, I've said a few times here that we issued to staff and to the media who covered this matter the responses to that resolution, and they are also on our website. Please know that this is my life's work, and I value what I've learned and what I have been able to create and been able to partner with very fantastic folks here in district. And even though we've had all these challenges, I'm still here, ready to be a part of the answers, ready to continue our construction, ready to continue our integration work and our CNI growth. And I welcome anyone to again peruse those responses to Somea's vote of no confidence, to see our very thoughtful and accurate and factual responses. It's my pleasure to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn into the executive session at now 6:32 PM to discuss matters of attorney-client privilege. The length of that executive session is estimated to be 20 minutes, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene and action will be taken. Thank you.
Do we need 2 seconds? Second. Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank Sorry. Hello. Yeah. Just kidding. It's okay.
Coming back in.
Thank you. We are now going to begin public speaks. Thank you to the folks in the community who have joined us this evening. The board has time limits by policy, so we're going to give each individual who signed up this evening 2 minutes to speak. And the time limit is an hour, so please do your best to stay within the time afforded to you. Please state your name and town for reference as well. Thank you. Okay. I know. Okay, first person up is Sean Buckus.
My name is Sean Buckus from Maplewood. I'm the father of 3 students in our district, including 1 recent graduate. I'd like to address the renewal of Dr. Taylor's contract next spring and continuing his tenure as superintendent. Renewal is not what our district needs. Continuing his tenure is not what our students need. We need a thoughtful, strong operator with a proven track record. The shortfalls in our superintendent's management track record are well documented and deserve action. Our teachers have voted no confidence in his leadership. Hundreds of parents have signed a petition pleading for a new superintendent. The time for debate is in the past and the time for action is in the present. I found central tenets of Dr. Taylor's letter to the community tonight lacking credibility and inconsistent with his performance track record. The fact that we are all here tonight is telling. If we had the right leadership in place, we would not be here. It is clear that the board needs to take action. I am increasingly concerned by Dr. Taylor's actions, including a threat to single-handedly pursue a deleveling of our academic classes in our last public board meeting. Our students deserve the best outcomes, and the board needs to ensure proper governance. We need new superintendent leadership, less dysfunction, and we need it now. We can do much better for our students, our staff, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Next up is Henry Satone. Henry Satone.
Hi, Henry Satone from South Orange. I'm a parent in the district. Not here to talk about Dr. Taylor, but I appreciate the time. Police officers protect this meeting, the district staff, and all of us. Most of them are really, really good people. Some of them not. We've all seen that. But this district is doing something, is affiliated with a group that dishonors those good police officers. This district accepts curriculum advice, professional development training, a Saturday school, and maintains a board liaison with an outside group that invited a double homicide police killer to teach Saturday school. It invited this cop killer, whose parole was opposed by Attorney General Letitia James recently, knowing exactly who he was. On its public Facebook page, this group described Mr. Montaquim as a 40-plus year Black Liberation Army, quote, political prisoner, as their Saturday school guest. For those of you who don't know, the BLA was a Marxist-Leninist group supported by Russia back in the 70s. This person did over 40 years of time for his killings. The organization's program was one of war against the United States government. To this end, in 1971, members of the BLA ambushed African-American patrolman Waverly Jones and Italian-American patrolman Joseph Piagentini, who were shot and killed while on foot patrol in Harlem. They were both shot in the back. Mr. Montaquim and 2 others were tried and convicted of these crimes. A group that holds up cop killers as role models to our students has no place in any official capacity in our district. There are numerous choices to obtain after-school programs, professional development, and curriculum advice from. Why does this district choose the most fringe groups for that? Why are you guys doing this? You could pick anybody else you wanted for this group, for this purpose. And why was this group brought in and vouched for by our whiteboard members? Because I remember Dr. Telsford did not approve of this group, and I think I know why now. When you describe a convicted police killer as a political prisoner, you are platforming violence. I will not tell you who to choose to talk on race issues in the school, because it's not my place. I just ask that we choose groups that do not platform cop killers as role models for our students and faculty. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next person up is Rocio Lopez.
Hello, my name is Rocio Lopez. I'm the president of SOMEA, and I'm coming here to represent all my members. On Thursday, October 26, at 5:48 p.m., our executive board sent the following email to the board. We want to advise you that based on the results of over 90% of our SOMEA voting membership in favor of a vote of no confidence in Superintendent Ronald G. Taylor, SOMEA is forwarding you the attachment resolution. SOMEA is requesting that the Board of Education not renew Dr. Taylor's employment and immediately transfer administration to the capable hands of a new superintendent. In that resolution, we say, therefore, if be resolved, the members of SOMEA have no confidence and no trust in the superintendent to effectively lead South Orange and Maplewood School District. Therefore, it be further resolved that the members of SOMEA respectfully and willingly submit this vote of no confidence to the Board of Education. Therefore, be finally resolved that SOMEA urges the Board of Education to provide immediate notice of not renewal to Dr. Taylor's employment as superintendent and to transfer administration of the district to capable hands, because the students and the staff of South Orange and Maplewood deserves it. I gotta say something. Our executive board, some of them are gonna give you some of the information that was in that resolution. Thank you.
Shira Lincoln.
Hi, Shira Lincoln, Vice President of SOMEA. First, I want to share something concerning in regards to Public Speaks Tonight. Dr. Taylor ordered Mr. Burnside to deny SOMEA members to sign up prior to the start of tonight's meeting. This is something we have always done. I approached Mr. Burnside, why the change in procedure? He responded, I was given my orders by Dr. Taylor. Why tonight, Dr. Taylor? Neglecting to pay teachers for additional hours. This is going off of what President Lopez just stated. Neglecting to pay teachers for additional hours worked, in some cases for months, despite the fact that administration was aware, beginning at the start of the school year, that these teachers would cover additional classes over their regular workload as the district was unable to hire or retain necessary teachers, and neglecting to notify teachers of the need to move their carefully created and valuable classroom, their resources, only to have those teachers return from summer break and realize they are without the resources they need to teach students because they have been haphazardly thrown in boxes, misplaced, or broken. Where's the respect?
Patrice Mathung.
My name is Patrice Massang. I'm the PRC chair and the negotiations chair for SOMEA. Some more of the reasons for our recommendation for non-renewal states refusing to provide SOMEA members with an itemized paycheck so they can determine whether they are actually being paid for extra hours worked. And despite teacher finding examples where they were underpaid by hundreds of dollars, only after repeated demands that the payroll office identify the hours included in their checks. And authorizing the hire of new teachers in direct violation to the terms of the district's collective bargaining agreement with SOMEA, in many cases at salaries well in excess of what is being paid to the long-term teachers of the district, who already felt overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated by the district.
Thank you. Suzanne Froelich.
Hi, I'm Susan Froelich, Somaya Executive Board member and Maplewood resident. I'm going to continue with choosing to outsource transportation within the district despite a long-standing and successful practice of providing in-house transportation, thereby cultivating personal relationships between district employees and students, only now to have students missing material parts of the school day due to repeated late arrivals as a result of convoluted bus routes and later lost bus drivers. Only now to have our younger students experience anxiety and humiliation at having had bathroom accidents due to prolonged bus routes where they could no longer hold their pressing need to empty their bladders. Only now to have younger students exposed to empty liquor bottles when these third-party buses were not cleaned prior to retrieving our students. And failing to remedy the lack of several special education teachers in classrooms across the district where students are entitled and the district is legally required to furnish a certified special education teacher, despite knowing that special education was deficient in numbers at the end of last year to cover the current special education population. And even though they were testing several additional students over the summer who would likely need special education services for the school year. Thank you.
Christy Thomas.
I'm Christy Thomas, a member of Somaya's executive board. To continue, unilaterally pursuing a revised policy of equity and access, calling for the elimination of academic levels throughout the district without collaboration with all stakeholders and without providing any specific plan or protocols or budget for the implementation of said policy, and then doubling down on the so-called autocratic exercise of power to adopt a policy of his choosing without any need to hear the opinions of stakeholders when the BOE reasonably demanded evidence that he had collaborated with stakeholders before a first read of his proposed policy, and fabricating a confrontational relationship between labor and management, most recently evidenced at the October 18th Board of Ed meeting, when contrary to Dr. Taylor's bald assertions without names or date that math teachers were consulted about deleveling, multiple middle and high school teachers affirmed during public speaks that their departments were never consulted about deleveling, and CHS had in fact attempted a deleveled discrete math class with negative outcomes compared to both college prep and honors sections of the course, so that they would never advocate for the same, only for Dr. Taylor to subsequently decry publicly that he doubted the veracities of their statements, and implementing an integration policy whose intended effect was to create greater equity between students in the lower socioeconomic stratum with those in the middle and upper strata. Except Dr. Taylor's plan has had a negative impact on the students the plan was meant to help, as evidenced by the disproportionate numbers of students who qualify for free and reduced lunch being made to travel outside of their neighborhood at greater distances and times to attend school, as well as failing to provide the necessary academic supports these vulnerable students need at their reassigned schools.
Jose Martinez.
Right, okay. Jose Martinez, Maplewood resident, 2 sons in district, 10-year Somaya member, Somaya Action Committee Chair. I will briefly be speaking about 2 items, CHS Freshman Academy as well as grounds and facilities. Stakeholders were promised last spring a 5-day CHS Freshman Academy to address the achievement gap and the ever-increasing needs of our students for social-emotional learning and executive function skills, only not to collaborate with Somaya regarding the assignment of staff this fall, only not to furnish any curriculum for said academy despite Dr. Taylor's administration assuring Somaya in writing that the Board of Education had approved the curriculum for the academy. However, now taking the position that a curriculum is not needed to instruct students. Dr. Taylor has been inept in his role at supervising the Department of Grounds and Facilities. Dr. Taylor has demonstrated that he is incapable of effectively holding his past and present grounds and facilities directors accountable to their operational duties. As a result, Dr. Taylor's administrative failure to properly supervise the adult or adults who should be reporting to him has perpetuated the past and present ongoing health and safety violations throughout our school grounds and buildings within the district. Dr. Taylor's laissez-faire leadership approach towards grounds and facilities has proven detrimental to the health and safety of our members and our students. Thank you.
Jen Sates.
Good evening. I am Jennifer Skates, Executive Board Member of Somaya and Marshall Elementary School teacher. Other reasons why we do not believe in renewing Dr. Taylor's contract. Aiding and abetting the decline of rigor within the secondary levels of the district by rubber stamping a credit recovery system for close to 700 NCs, which allowed for individual assistant principals to devise separate criteria for each grade level to recover credit, including allowing students to sign in to the CHS library and auditorium without any supervision, without completing any work, and without consulting any teachers to receive academic credit. Such fraud doing injustice not only to those students who completed the necessary work for credit, but also harming these students who still lack the unnecessary instruction they need for future success, and further aiding and abetting the decline of rigor in contradiction to the specific recommendations of Dr. Fergus. By reducing the final average a student needs to receive academic credit for a course to 0.50, despite a D- being the quarterly equivalent of a 0.67, lying to the public and our students about their college and career readiness. And losing hundreds of teachers who have left the district in growing dissatisfaction with the day-to-day management and policies under Dr. Taylor's regime, pursuing positions in higher paying districts where they feel recognized and, God forbid, appreciated. Thank you.
Christine Rada. Christine Rada.
Hi, my name is Christine Vada. I'm a Maplewood resident. I have one son. He's a kindergartner, so I've only been in the district for a few short months. And my story is that my son was forgotten outside on the first day of school. And when my situation was escalated to Dr. Taylor, I was gaslit through the entire process and made to feel like it was me just being an irrational mother versus him taking any accountability or action to not only provide a safety plan for my son, but to create a true and accurate incident report, an incident report that I had to beg for from him because he did not offer it, something that should be standard when your child is left outside in a heat wave, because the first day of school was 100 degrees and he was left outside. And as a result, when I asked for a transfer, it was denied because to Taylor, the only thing that matters is the socioeconomic welfare and his agenda items and building his resume, not the safety, not the well-being of a 5-year-old on his first day of school. So these are things that I feel that his contract should not be renewed. I think the new superintendent should be caring about the safety of children. I think they should be caring about the well-being and also trusting that the parent knows best for their child, not making a decision that's going to help add another bullet point to their resume. So in addition to that, I also feel like he could have done more in providing guidance with the principal, the vice principal at the school, and it was a very hands-off approach. And then furthermore, I was eligible for a bus, and there was another safety breach because I never got the bus, and people in my neighborhood who did receive a bus, their children were left on the bus. So imagine the PTSD that I'm experiencing after my son was outside, and now he could get a bus, he's never gotten it, and if he were to be left on the bus. So I am completely frazzled, again, in the school district for 2 months. We can do better, we deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you. Marion Rabb.
So basically,
Good evening, and thank you for giving me a chance to speak. I really appreciate it. My name is Marion Rabb, and I have had a child in this school district since 2008. I am a Maplewood resident, and that is I've had one child graduate from the district, and my youngest child is a junior at CHS. Dr. Taylor, you mentioned during your presentation that you work for the board. Yes, Mr. Superintendent, you do work for the board, and it doesn't sound like you're very happy with your job right now.
Please direct your comments to the chair. Okay.
I will do so. Let me tell you what's not normal during a board meeting, because I've sat through quite a few, and I've run for board unsuccessfully myself. What is not normal during a board meeting is presenting what I can only describe as a highly inappropriate slideshow of your performance review and emails between yourself and board members. What's also not normal is calling out sitting board members and making highly inappropriate and, in my opinion, unethical comments and releasing what should be confidential emails between you and the board. You are the board's only employee. The board is your boss. I've never seen anything like this in the 21 or 22 years that I have lived in Maplewood. I am asking the board to please terminate the contract of Mr. Taylor immediately because of three main things, none of which even have to do with what just went down tonight. One, his disgraceful management of COVID, which kept our children out of the schools and in virtual school for over a year. My oldest son lost his senior year in high school. My youngest son lost eighth grade. The kids are not all right, Dr. Taylor. They are really not all right. In addition, I think we can all agree we have a botched capital construction plan, which is going nowhere slowly. And last but not least, we have completely failed in our busing for elementary school students. And for these reasons,
Sorry, Marion.
please terminate his contract immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Beth Doherty.
Beth Doherty, Maplewood. I served on this Board of Ed from 2007 till the end of 2016, and I served as board president for almost 4 of those years. And I'm not here to weigh in on the merits of the superintendent's work. There seem to be compelling arguments on both sides. I'm here to speak about the governance style of this board. You are about to hijack the most important responsibility of a Board of Education, which is the superintendent's employment. Several of you are in your first year, and all are in your first term with the exception of Mrs. Wright. You will do irreparable harm to the trust of this community if you use this underhanded manner of deciding on the superintendent's employment on the Friday night before Tuesday's election, at which point you become a lame duck BOE. Let the incoming Board of Ed, which will include a majority of you, review the information and do their job. What Dr. Taylor said about a lame duck Board of Education not binding a future Board of Education is true. And I saw some eye rolls at that comment. It's true, and you need to take it seriously. The deadline to alert Dr. Taylor of non-renewal is 120 days before the end of his contract. That is the end of February. So why, if you're not trying to hijack the responsibility of the incoming board, do you feel like you need to do it now? Unless Dr. Taylor has committed a crime, this decision should be made in early 2024. Finally, a board that governs in this manner will make it very difficult, if not impossible, to attract a new superintendent. Who would want to work here for a board that functions in this manner? You just need to think about this.
Thank you. Khadijah Costley White. Khadijah Costley White.
Yeah, who's gonna want to teach here?
Oh,
Yeah. We can hire for life.
They don't care about teaching.
They don't, obviously. They're saying it clear.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
I actually went to school here, unlike most people in this room, and who's, I said most, most people, not everyone. Shout out to the alums. Somaya, I look forward to your plans and your recommendations about how to change things, because the same issues that were going on when I was a kid are still here. That was before Dr. Taylor arrived. That was before Dr. Taylor arrived. When I was a kid, I heard how people spoke about Black children in this district. I saw how how teachers treated Black children in this district. And so I look forward to Somaya's plan that they will present to the board and the next superintendent if they decide not to keep Dr. Taylor. I just feel like, with respect, Somaya should clean up their own house. I actually, with
Guys, let's please let Khadijah Costley White finish what she was saying, everybody. I don't have a gavel, but guys, please. But you're yelling as well. Everyone needs to calm down. Let's let Khadijah please finish. Thank you.
Dr. White, it's okay. Okay, so I just want to say there's a lot of buzzwords going around about executives and he should run this school district like an MBA. That's coming from people who don't know children, who have not been in classrooms. I was an elementary school teacher. I really just wanted to say that this, Dr. Taylor, the first time I got to meet you was when I requested a meeting, and you didn't know me from anyone. You were patient, you were thoughtful, you took notes, you listened. And I don't always agree with everything you do, but that doesn't mean you don't get to be treated like a person with dignity and respect. And so I just want to say, this is not about integrity. People with integrity don't try to subvert the will of the voters. This is not about our kids. What kind of superintendent is going to come here and be treated the way that you people are treating this man right now? So good luck. You're putting us in a bad position. Good luck finding someone new. Or I guess you maybe don't care about the mess you're leaving us with if you proceed in this way.
Thank you, Dr. White. We have Summer Jones.
It's weird sitting in this seat and not ours. My name is Summer Jones, I'm from South Orange. As a resident of South Orange, I urge you to hold off on taking any action until the new board is in place. Additionally, I request that you provide more comprehensive advertisement regarding this decision, as it is so significant to the community. It's disheartening that this special meeting was scheduled on a Friday night and that most people were unaware of the actions being taken until the resolutions were published today. I also have concerns that this was being done less than 4 days before the election and families are away on break. In my capacity as an elected official, I've had the pleasure of collaborating with Dr. Taylor, and although there have been some missteps, I commend him for his accomplishments. Specifically, he initiated our building expansion and implementing our intentional integration program. Thank you.
Thank you, Summer. Aaron Scherzer.
My name is Erin Scherzer. I'm a 10-year Maplewood resident, and Dr. Taylor marks the 5th superintendent that my family has had since we moved here with our daughter when she was just 1 year old. I am deeply concerned that we are pretty much clipping the pace of how many iPhone releases there are based on the number of superintendents that are here. The problem, I today am not going to be speaking on the merits of whether to keep Dr. Taylor or not. I am not in the position to review any of the documents that you of a Board of Education has reviewed. But I will say, from my professional experience, both handling labor and employment matters and recruiting, I am deeply concerned by what I am seeing and hearing. What we saw tonight, assuming the allegations that Dr. Taylor presented are true, it's a textbook example of an employment discrimination suit. We have enough
lawsuits facing this district, and he is going to walk home and get a nice, pretty penny off of all of our backs. That is money that will be taken away from improving our facilities, paying our teachers who are grossly underpaid and poorly treated, because we do not actually employ an employment council to provide advice. So what Dr. Taylor put on the table, clearly waiving his personnel file, he put his evaluation up. So I would like the Board of Education, when you are discussing, read the whole evaluation, because a trigger that picked up for me, there was nothing in his performance in his evaluation that had a pip in it. There's been no progressive discipline. Good luck defending that lawsuit. Additionally, I think the community, in the interest of transparency, because every single one of you ran on a position of transparency, you need to put out the dollar amount of what it is going to cost this district versus having him continue to the end of his term to pay him out all of his benefits and take it from there. I am deeply concerned, and I'm really worried about the future of our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Jocelyn Ryan.
What's the name?
Thanks. Jocelyn Ryan, South Orange. You have the votes. You can do whatever you like tonight. I'm just here to comment on the underhanded way this was dealt with, in line with your handling of the Sanchez-Bodnar renewals. This unethical way of doing business will be the legacy of your tenure as board president. You who campaigned on bringing civility to the board, and your colleagues who campaigned on increased transparency and better communication. But here we are on a Friday evening on the eve of vacation, a few days before an election. With construction plans diminished at our middle and high school due to lack of funds, you are voting to buy Dr. Taylor out of his contract, to give Dr. Gilbert a stipend to act as superintendent for the rest of the year, to hire a search firm to find a new superintendent, and to fund whatever lawsuit will result from this evening. Where is the money coming from, and who would want to work here after this? You have failed to manage your only employee, and it is costing us, the taxpayers. Dr. Taylor, if the vote doesn't go your way tonight, I wish you well. You were dealt a bad hand in terms of timing and partners. I wanted to thank you for a few things specifically, for separating construction and integration so that we could desegregate our schools more quickly. Thank you for your willingness to educate realtors about the integration plan so that new in-movers are now less likely to be misinformed about neighborhood schools. Thank you for always responding to public speaks, even though you don't have to. And thank you for keeping our teachers and students safe during COVID. And thank you for building and staffing a solid leadership infrastructure in central office. And I wish Dr. Gilbert good luck here.
Ronnie Schwartz.
Hello all, my name is Ronnie Schwartz and I live in Maplewood. I'm already on the record as a supporter of what Dr. Taylor has been working to accomplish since he was hired here 4 years ago. We tasked him with goals that have eluded this district for decades, and none of us should have been under the illusion that they would be painless to reach. But I'm not here to talk about those things, nor am I here to suggest that the board should necessarily extend Dr. Taylor's contract. I'm here because of this board's last-minute decision to schedule a vote on whether or not to put Dr. Taylor on leave through the end of his contract. A meeting that you astoundingly thought to schedule not just on a Friday evening, not just when the evening before fall break is beginning and many families are leaving town, but literally 2 business days before the school board election during active early voting. This is not the first time the leaders of this board have tried to slide major personnel decisions through without adequate public notice or comment, and it needs to be the last. It is neither good leadership nor responsible stewardship of the district. It is not the transparency that you promised when you campaigned, and it is appalling that you scheduled this meeting while so many of your constituents and stakeholders can't be here. But beyond all that, let's briefly review Dr. Taylor's contract is up in June. What is your plan? Whether he's managing the district or sitting at home, we, the taxpayers, will have to keep paying him through June. You'll also likely have to give a significant pay increase to presumably Dr. Gilbert, whoever you tap to serve as interim superintendent, and he won't exactly be in a great position to get much done for us. Have you considered the possibility that you're exposing the district to legal action? You're absolutely exposing us to a lawsuit, more expense, and embarrassment. And do you even have approval from the county superintendent to make this move? Whether we choose to ask Dr. Taylor to finish what we brought him here to do or find
Thank you very
someone
much,
else,
Ronnie.
there are
Thank
clearly
you for
things that
your
need to be improved, but this is not the answer. It's irresponsible,
Thank you,
disrespectful,
Ronnie.
and I think unethical. I urge you to table
We will
this
now be
motion,
calling up
allow
Karen
the election to occur,
Kozar
and let the
for
elected
the
board
next
follow the well-defined
person.
process for
Thank
managing
you,
your
Ronnie.
single
We appreciate
employee.
you. Thank you. Can we have Karen Kozar? Thank you.
More people here than I expected. Hello, BOE members. My name is Karen. I am Jewish, a mother in the district, and my family is from Israel. I am here today to stand up against MAPSO Freedom School and because our repeated emails and asks for help from the board have gone completely unanswered. This organization is unapologetically spreading hate and has been given access to our public school teachers and curriculum. Public schools should be inclusive, factual, and safe for all communities. Since October 7th, MAPSO Freedom School has made 10 posts condemning Israel filled with inaccurate statements, insensitive comments, and distorted versions of history. Not one post exhibiting even the slightest nod to the humanity of Israelis. In the single post where the Freedom School acknowledged that any Israeli life was lost on October 7th, the sentence reads, "We mourn the loss of Israeli and Palestinian lives due to the ongoing occupation and massive bombardment, not due to the horrific attack where hundreds of terrorists stormed civilian homes and killed over 1,000 innocent people in the most evil, unimaginable ways." What their post really says is, Israelis, you deserved it. If they are so enlightened to post about this conflict, but so sickened by the thought of showing any remorse towards Israelis, then I think you're being naive to not call it hate. I'm not saying they shouldn't be using their platform to elevate the voices of the Palestinian people. I too believe in a prosperous Palestinian state. But if their hope is to shine light on the oppression these people face, why is there not a single mention of Hamas and the oppression they inflict on their own people, of the corruption and theft of resources, of the 18 years of totalitarian rule with not a single election since 2006? It appears because it doesn't fit their agenda. This wildly selective and flagrantly biased representation of the region clearly indicates bad faith. I don't care what good the Freedom School has done for the community in the past. If history has taught us anything, it's that selective humanity and good deeds do not snuff out acts of hate. You cannot sometimes do good if the remainder of the time you cause so much pain that members of your own community must rally together and speak out against you. The saying goes, when people show you who they are, believe them. The Freedom School has shown us that they are willing to cherry pick facts.
We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I
for
did
coming.
plan for 3 minutes. Is it not 3 minutes?
It's only 2. I'm so sorry, because we have a lot of people, and there's also virtual public speaks as well. So we've limited comment to 2 minutes this evening.
I will email you the rest of my speech. I ask
you so
this
much.
time, please, for a response to my emails.
Thank you, Karen. Allison Beckdahl.
Hi, my name is Allison Beckdahl. I've been living in Maplewood for close to 24 years, teaching in the district for more than 16. And I know you probably remember me, board. Hello. I come here tonight to say that change is hard. We all get it, but we had better get over it because we need change and we need it immediately. I have had differences with people on the board, differences of opinion. Not once did I ever doubt the genuine nature of their arguments.
There is no more disingenuous person in this room than Dr. Taylor. He is not serving us. He's not serving Somaya. He is not serving our students. Ro here might sound a little bit volatile and angry, and I get it. Might be a little bit of her Spanish background, but it's also because she works hard every single day for our students, like we all do. We don't have time to make pretty PowerPoints. We don't have time to link an article into our statement that we're preparing. I didn't even have time to prepare this because I'm working really hard for our students, like I know all of these members of Somaya are. So yeah, she gets volatile, she gets mad, but she's working hard until 11 and 12 and 1 o'clock at night for the better of students, which is what we should care about here. This man has not once, I've been in every single building except for 2 teaching in my 16 years, saw him in the building once. One building, once, and it was to receive an accolade in the renaming ceremony for Delia Bolden School. I can't imagine that someone can run a district, that can say they're in charge of a district without actually having feet on the ground like we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Rhea back.
Interrupt me, see what happens. I wanted to be present tonight to offer the benefit. I wanted to be present tonight to offer the benefit of my experience as a parent with over a decade's worth of investment in the South Orange Maplewood School District. If you do this tonight, we will be right back where we started, where I started in 2013. All of our hard-won plans will be thrown into disarray. We will revert to the inconsistency, the stymied progress, the rank hopelessness that permeated this district when I first enrolled my only child here in 2013. In the year since the new executive committee has been seated, we have been consumed by matters of high intrigue, attempts to oust building leaders, ethics charges on top of ethics charges. None of the most pressing matters before this board has had anything to do with improving instructional quality, policies that support advanced pedagogical approaches that will serve our students, or social emotional supports for the thousands of students still struggling to find their way post-pandemic. We get uproar, we get arguments, we get community roil, we get politicking. We do not get solutions. There seems to be some desire here to respond only to the loudest, angriest voices who shout hate in hateful social media groups, instead of a depth of understanding that you are in service of a diverse community who gift you all the stewardship of our precious children. It occurs to me too that this board responds to those parents who come here to talk about their own kids, but have not been responsive at all in including and hearing from those of us who care about this district as a whole. It does not escape my notice that in recent years, the scapegoats for our district ills have been Black men.
Thank you very much, Rhea.
When President Joshua sat on this dais, everything was his fault. Now that he is gone, everything is at the fault of Dr. Taylor.
2 minutes,
After
Rhea.
seeing the evidence of your micromanagement and surveillance tonight,
Abigail
I will not be silenced on this. The entire
Abigail
community is
Murtaugh.
now aware of your racialized approach to how you have managed Dr. Taylor. We will not forget it. Black parents will not forget it.
Thank you, Rhea.
Why
Can
does
we
this
have
board
Abigail
so
Murtaugh,
consistently
please?
show contempt for transparency, protocol, and rigorous analysis of the facts? Please,
We're going to have to stop the meeting, ma'am. We're going to have to stop the meeting. Please, your time is up.
to stop. Why am I being intimidated by this room full of Somaya members? Why is this happening?
Your time is up at this time.
Abigail Murtaugh.
what happened. See what happened. I heard.
Do you mind so I can talk?
No, I'm not gonna let you, but I was gonna spread.
Okay. Perfect.
3 minutes.
Abigail Murtaugh. I am outraged that the board has scheduled a last-minute vote just one business day before Election Day for the possible dismissal of our superintendent. This maneuver is an abandonment of due process not only for Dr. Taylor, but for every stakeholder in this community. To do this minutes before the current board leadership may be replaced on Election Day, replaced by the public the board is meant to serve, is a cynical abdication of your responsibility to our community. I am surprised we are here again so soon. Months ago, when you tried to rush through dismissals of administrators, the community mobilized not only to support these district employees, but to demand you do better. You showed the entire community then that you not only did not want to incorporate public opinion, you wanted to avoid hearing it altogether. You lost our trust. And rather than working to rebuild that trust through transparency, you've doubled down on secrecy and maneuvering to ensure your agenda. The argument currently being floated that Samea's letter requires an immediate dismissal is nonsense. If a student made a list of accusations against a teacher, would you immediately vote to remove that teacher? Or would you take time to educate yourselves, investigate claims, and hear from the teacher in question before acting? I listened respectfully to each and every one of you. I imagine you would also use proper process, not only so you could be confident in your decision, but also to protect yourself from claims of unlawful termination. Surely the superintendent deserves the same consideration. Nobody will argue that the school board cannot ever, if warranted, dismiss a superintendent or any administrator for due cause. But trust in a decision demands due process. It demands you do not rush a vote through a day before an election that may result in a reconstitution of the current board. And I will just end by saying Dr. Taylor's love affair with socioeconomic things is one of the reasons many of us have valued him in this district.
Inda Skezer? Inda Skezer? Inda? Oh, okay.
Good evening. My subject is also the Freedom School. I am Inda Sexer. When I moved to Maplewood 40 years ago, these were not the diverse, tolerant towns we celebrate. We've come a very long way, until now. My quick history, Inda, it's an unusual name, isn't it? My name was given to me in memory of my great aunt who did not make it from Ukraine to New York to join her sisters. She was murdered in the Holocaust. That was just 5 years before I was born. My name is her name. Every day when my name is said, or I say it, it is a reminder to me of her existence before her savage murder at the hands of the Nazis just because she was a Jew. I have been a walking memorial my whole life. Since the heinous atrocities perpetrated in Israel by Hamas, I have heard rhetoric that heretofore I have only heard in the post-Holocaust nightmares of my youth, growing up in the shadow of the Holocaust, children tiptoeing over the ashes of our people. Today, again, we hear, gas the Jews, kill the Jews, from the river to the sea, code words for genocide. Our nightmares come to life. Never again has become let's do it again. In the midst of the discussion of changing the name of Jefferson School to Delia Bolden, I expressed my opinion, which, while supportive, posed some considerations. Some of the members of the school board told me, not literally, but in essence, I am Black, you are not, so shut up. I will not mimic what I was told by members of this board. I seek to be more inclusive and say to you, I am a Jew, maybe you are not. Please do not ever shut up. Support us as we do you. Our Board of Education must immediately cut all ties with the Freedom School. It is a political hate group that spews anti-Israel, anti-Semitic rhetoric. You must not permit them to use district facilities, not provide funding, insurance, and not allow them to provide professional development. This Board of Education must take a stand against hateful, insightful efforts in our towns. I also will email you my statement. It is really not right that you announce a 3-minute limit and then you cut it to 2. I've had to cut out a good deal of what I had to say. I will email it to you. It's not fair, and you shouldn't do it.
Thank you, Inda. I appreciate that feedback. Dara Granau. John Hung.
Hi, a lot of angry people here tonight, huh? So I'm just a parent. I'm not associated with Somea. I'm not associated with any political local organizations here. So my name is John Hung. I'm a South Orange resident with 2 special needs children attending school at Tuscan. One of my child does not need an IEP anymore, and this is because of the wonderful teachers and special ed staff that has taken care of her, and in Montrose and Tuscan. So because of that, my wife, my family, and I are eternally grateful for this community. I am here today to support the board's decision to place Superintendent Dr. Taylor on administrative leave immediately. This is a community that values equitable student outcomes, and we need to provide teachers all the necessary support to deliver that outcome. There is a strong consensus in this community today that Dr. Taylor is not the right leader to help us execute on this vision. Our facilities are crumbling due to years of neglect. Our buses can't get our students to school on time. Our teachers don't get paid on time. Most embarrassingly, we are way behind in our implementation of the Fergus plan to legally fill the bare minimum gaps in addressing student inequity. We've heard years of feedback and complaints from teachers and parents attributing these failures to Dr. Taylor's lack of empathy, leadership, and accountability. What we saw in the last few months was just the straws that broke the camel's back. I urge Dr. Taylor, and I say this with sincerity, thank you for your service to this community. I'm willing to believe that he tried his best. We've all tried our best, but it's just not working. So the best way to move forward is an amicable separation. Board members, this house is indeed on fire now and has been. Please send the goddamn fire brigade now.
Amy Paternite.
Good evening. My name is Amy Paternite. I'm a resident of South Orange, and I've lived and worked in this community for over 20 years. I would like to let the board know that members of the community are here this evening to speak out about the anti-Semitism of the Mapso Freedom School. I realize tonight's meeting was an emergency session that needed to be scheduled as soon as possible, but it's highly unfortunate that it meant scheduling a meeting on Shabbat, which runs Friday night until Saturday sundown, and as a result, many Jews who wish to speak out against anti-Semitism cannot. Mapso Freedom School, despite self-identifying as anti-racist, has actively participated in and organized demonstrations calling for Jewish genocide. Chants such as "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," and calls for intifada are repeatedly heard in these contexts. These slogans explicitly call to ethnically cleanse Israel of Jews and to wage war against Jews wherever they are found, are displayed on Mapso's Instagram account. There is no ambiguity about their anti-Jew hatred. Mapso Freedom School is actively creating a situation where our children and members of the community do not feel safe. Our schools should be sanctuaries of inclusivity, completely free from any association with organizations that promote hate and discrimination. The Board of Education cannot turn a blind eye to the fact that an organization purportedly dedicated to anti-racism is actively, overtly, and explicitly engaging in racist and anti-Semitic activities. There is no place in our public schools for hate and advocacy of violence. And these are the last few words from Karen. The saying goes, when people show you who they are, believe them. The Freedom School has shown us that they are willing to cherry pick facts and present an entirely one-sided perspective to support their own personal narrative. To put it bluntly, I do not trust these educators on any topic at all. They have shown us that they are not reliable educators, so let's believe them. In our towns, we say hate has no home here, at least for our school and the kids. Let's make that true. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That, sorry, that concludes in-person public speaks. So we will now transition over to virtual. The next person is Mordechai Giovanni. Oh, sorry, Mordecai.
Yes, thank you, everyone. First, I want to thank the great teachers that are here. My name is Mordechai. I'm from South Orange. I lived with my family in Maplewood in South Orange for over 13 years. I have 2 kids in the district. I'm originally from Ramat Gan, Israel. I'm an Israeli Defense Forces veteran and have served both in Gaza Strip and southern Lebanon from 1994 to 1997 in combat operations. I'm here today to speak as an Israeli of the unspeakable atrocities that we all seen, heard of, read about, committed by Hamas on October 7, targeting civilians, have shocked us all to the core. Hamas continues to terrorize Israelis and Americans by brutally holding over 240 Israeli and American hostages. I have family members who have been majority of the last few weeks in and around bomb shelters in Israel due to rockets being fired indiscriminately by Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon. The war we all see and experience today that is unfolding in Israel was opened by Hamas. I have friends in Israel who have lost loved ones in the massacres of October 7. I also have friends who have family members held hostage by Hamas and friends that are on the front lines. The reason I chose to speak today is because of the rise of anti-Semitism. It is disturbing to see what is unfolding on our US college campuses where Jewish students are harassed, shamed, attacked, and targeted by Hamas sympathizers. Locally, we've had a great delay in recognizing Hamas's atrocities by the district and our local officials. However, this was corrected in recent days. We are now as a community more united in support of Israel, right to exist and to defend itself. What is disturbing is that we see on social media, on groups like Maps of Freedom School, who openly call for the destruction of Israel, using Hamas's playbook for complete annihilation of the state of Israel.
Thank you so much, Mordecai.
So I asked the district to cease doing any business with Maps of Freedom School and will now renew their contract. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Alan Razam.
That community member is not present.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Keith. Susan Bergen.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, Susan Bergen, Maplewood. I'm here as a former board member who worked with Dr. Taylor for over 2 years.
Susan, sorry to interrupt you. We just can't hear you very well.
Oh, okay. I have AirPods in. Is this better?
That's a little,
I'm
it's like
trying
you
to
go,
shout.
you're high and then you're low.
Okay. I'm here as a former board member who worked with Dr. Taylor for over 2 years and served with every current board member on the Horseshoe tonight. I was the board's first vice president for 1 year. Dr. Taylor's presentation tonight is consistent with my recollection of events. Each January, he is in the difficult position of teaching his supervisors, the board, what their role is. Despite his best efforts, including even buying books on governance for this board, some never learned. They micromanage and dismiss his decades of experience. They focus on random minutia instead of the big picture governance and interfere with his ability to do his job. Dr. Taylor has put up with so much from this board. People have no idea what happens behind the scenes. Dr. Taylor is always the grown-up in the room. He is thoughtful, knowledgeable, prepared, respectful, unflappable, and measured, experienced, the consummate professional. Admin leave is supposed to be used sparingly for employees accused of committing crimes. To be clear, there is nothing remotely like that here. What we do have is a lame duck board trying to circumvent the normal contract process the Friday night that the district closes for a week. Everyone should be outraged by the lack of process and transparency. We will all suffer for it. We won't be able to recruit a new superintendent after tonight's meeting and the May 11th fiasco. Other senior leadership will leave, throwing the district into more disarray. We should be begging Dr. Taylor to stay after the spectacle caused by this board. Dr. Taylor, thank you for your service. You deserve so much better than this board has given you, and I wish you well in a district that appreciates you. And to the board, good luck negotiating a contract with a union that you let dictate your personnel decisions.
Thank you, Susan.
And what would the majority have done
Keith, well,
if last year I
thank you
had
very much,
extended his
Susan.
contract in
Everybody
November?
is getting 2
Thank
minutes,
you.
so we're going to move to the next community member. Loren Levy.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. I just want to piggyback on what several of the other community members discussed about Israel and the Mapso Freedom School. I'd like to know, well, first of all, the Freedom School holds meetings at Columbia High School and South Orange Middle and educates teachers and children, 8th through 12th grades, on certain topics, whether it's on Islam or Black lives. I've not seen any teachings on Judaism or heard of any educational seminars about the plight of the Jewish people. I'd like to know why my tax dollars are going to a group who is spreading hateful rhetoric and false narratives about the state of Israel and the Jewish people. How does a social justice group that condemns every other form of hate except anti-Semitism have a contractual relationship with our school district? On one of their media posts, social media posts, they're asking their students and teachers on November 9th to walk out from work and our school, picket Israeli embassies and consulates wearing armbands, picket companies that profit from Israel's quote unquote occupation of Palestine, and say that Israel is committing genocide. These ideas are teaching false narratives to young, pliable minds. The worst part is they're condoning hate and lies. Why hasn't the Mapso Freedom School denounced Hamas, the terrorist group which is the true occupier of Gaza? I am pro-peace for Palestinians as they've lived under the radical Islamic regime of Hamas tied to the Islamic Republic of Iran. They are the oppressors. Why has the Mapso Freedom School not condemned the surprise attack that slaughtered and butchered men, women, and children, many who weren't Jewish, many were American citizens? They make no mention of the hostages being held against their will. Many Soma residents have lawn signs that say hate has no home here. What I've come to realize is that hate does have a home here, and it's being taught in our schools under the lies and guise of social justice. My family has supported numerous social justice causes, and we have taught our
Thank you
children to
very
speak
much,
up on behalf
Lauren.
of others. I will be emailing you the rest of my speech. Thank you.
Please do. Thank you so much, Lauren.
Thank you.
Jared Pollard. Fine.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just wanted to say that the proceedings this evening are highly disturbing and seem underhanded and extremely wasteful. Frankly, it reminds me of the recent chaos in DC surrounding the House of Reps speaker removal and the subsequent circus that followed. And we see where that left us. And so I just ask that we get back to the business of focusing on our students and not wasting resources on infighting and coups. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Olivia Lewis Chang.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I am saddened and dismayed and really disappointed. I am less concerned with the board's decision. Well, it's not that I'm less concerned. I am more concerned with the process that we are in right now. I find this kind of subterfuge and underhandedness not representative of how we would like our children to see us when we take positions of governance and when we promise in elections to be transparent and ethical. And so I piggyback on a few of the commentators before who spoke to the issue of having a meeting on a Friday evening when the schools will be closed on next week, as well as half of our constituents are absent. I find this highly disrespectful to those who voted and who expect from elected officials a better show of how to govern. I wish Dr. Taylor well. I hope the board has really considered how its behavior tonight and in May impacts how our children see us and how they learn about civic behavior, ethics, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Dr. H. Major Poteet.
That community member is not online.
Thank you, Keith. Alan Guy.
That community member is not online either.
Sheena Collum.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Board of Education members. Thank you for your service to our district, and to the teachers and other audience members, thank you for your service to our community's greatest asset, which is our children. I hope they're not watching this meeting tonight. While rumors have certainly made their way through social media channels over the past few days on why there was a special meeting on a Friday night at 6 p.m., immediately before a holiday and immediately before an election, as you just heard, also during Shabbat for members of our Jewish community, we didn't learn about what would be transpiring tonight only a few hours ago. How many stakeholders even know this is happening right now? As a South Orange Village president, I would have loved the opportunity to share some insight on my own personal experiences with Dr. Taylor in my official capacity. We've had very frequent interactions over the years, including the pandemic, the long-range facilities plan, public safety and security, the transportation issues for our students, and so many other topics that overlap between the towns and our schools. Just 2 weeks ago, Dr. Taylor and I were speaking about the additional funding we needed for the long-range facilities plan and strategies to leverage our community's power to bring attention to these needs. My feedback and that of other community leaders, parents, and stakeholders of the district, I hope can be solicited before such a very important decision is made. Our community has been through so much, and I ask the Board of Education to prioritize how you can lead us right now in bringing us closer together and stopping what's occurring here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheena. That includes all of our public speaks for this evening. So let me just look at the agenda. So I guess, should I lead in the action portion of the meeting or Dr. Taylor?
Are the commenters done?
Yes.
Okay. The routine following of the agenda, so we go to Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Patrick. For those who don't normally come to these meetings, even though Patrick and our attorneys advised me not to, we try to respond to those who take time out of their evening to join us for public speaks. I normally take copious notes as I did this evening, and try to give real-time answers. Because some of these topics are about me, I may not be able to speak because of my right to privacy, but I'll try to give some answers. The majority of the Somaya comments are, again, a part of the vote of no confidence that I've responded to earlier today. That's in writing. It's on our website for anybody who'd like to see. So I won't belabor the point by going, bullet by bullet, but I will give a couple of pieces of commentary. There was a comment made that I don't care about teachers. And I would just say that, you know, as being a part of the board's negotiation committee, the result was that our teachers received the highest raise in the state. And I was very supportive of that. We meet as part of our district SAM group. That's the SOMEA leaders and our cabinet. We meet once a month to hash out challenges. I've been readily available to the president and vice president of SOMEA via cell phone, email, whatever they need. There was a question around Mr. Burnside having an order from me to not let SOMEA sign up ahead of time. Just to correct the record, at our last board meeting when I walked in, the SOMEA president had a list of names and was writing all the names on the list, and those folks were not in the room. And I thought that was an unfair step for a public discourse like that. So I instructed Mr. Burnside to put the list out later so that all community members would have an equal opportunity to sign up to speak. Regarding, one second, I'm just scrolling down. Things that I know that we've already responded in detail with. I won't go into that out of respect for everyone's time and out of respect for my wife and I's date night. That's normally Friday evenings. There was some really specific mentions of ongoing health and safety and physical plant problems. Most folks know or are aware that there are very high-level state agencies. If you call in a complaint, whether it be POSHA or OSHA, they come out right away and we engage them. And as we put in our letter today, every single time that happens, we engage with them. There was a mention about aiding and abetting a credit recovery system. As I shared it in our presentation from a third party, that is just not the case. And it was a legal review, and we again welcome. I haven't even seen the legal review. It's gone to the board, and our attorney shared the outcome, but I would welcome anybody to open request that review. I think it's pretty significant and robust. There was also a mention about violating the hiring of teachers, paying too much and all those kinds of things. And that's one that is in, it's being grieved now, so I can't comment on it. But what I can say is that this board and previous boards have really put an emphasis and held me accountable to bringing more teachers of color into our district and trying to bring trying to bring teachers who look like our kids for them. I can tell you that that's part of that effort. And that's all that I can say. I did not interrupt, and I would ask that you do not as well. To Ms. Vada, who spoke about her son being forgotten outside on the first day of school, we have met about that. I met with you and your husband. I also responded multiple times. So did the principal and the assistant principal. And we disagree about what you believe happened versus what the leadership put in their incident report. But your response was recorded as it should have been. And our attorney was also a part of that. I can't go back and forth. It's not allowed. I can't interact with you. I'm sorry.
Guys, we're not allowed, sorry. This is probably why Patrick says don't respond to
Yeah,
public speaks.
this is part of why, but folks should leave with everyone should leave with the same information. I agree. Everyone should leave with the same information. And I try to do that when we lead our board meetings, even though I'm advised to not respond. There were folks who brought commentary about my performance. And again, I'm not going to talk about that. I think my presentation showed where I think things are. And I'm also very respectful of whatever decision the Board of Education makes. But I wanted the community to know the things that I know and the things that others have mentioned, because you have a right to know that. That concludes my response.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the action portion of the meeting. So I'll bring it back to, actually, we're going to start off with Patrick, please.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. So just as an initial matter, the board had asked me to address an issue that had been raised about lame duck actions. So the board's anticipated actions tonight are all occurring tonight, which occurred during the life of this board. They do not bind a future board. They are occurring actively tonight, and they will continue as long as they're in place during the life of this board. So this is not an unlawful action by a lame duck board. As a second issue, normally personnel matters are all discussed in executive session. Employees of the school district are given a notice that the Board of Education will be discussing issues that could impact their terms and conditions of employment in advance of those discussions. The employee has the right to elect to have that discussion occur in public instead of in executive session. So in advance of this meeting, Dr. Taylor did advise that he was requesting that that discussion occur in public session. So what will occur now basically is the board will have a discussion that it would otherwise have had in executive session. That discussion is among the board. No one else is a participant to that discussion. Essentially what goes on now is people can see and hear what the board would discuss but cannot participate in it. The topics that could be discussed at the time of this discussion include performance, evaluation, discipline, and anything and everything impacting the terms and conditions of Dr. Taylor's employment. This discussion is preceding the motions that are actually later in the agenda. So with that, Madam President, you can proceed.
I'd like to make a motion to bring Resolution 4536 up for discussion. Do I have a second?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
So first, we're going to have the executive session discussion.
thank you, Arun. Thank you. Okay, so I will, sorry, I got confused because it's different than what we normally do.
So,
Okay.
Madam President, if I can real quickly. So this discussion follows the same Robert's rules.
Yes.
So essentially, each board member has an opportunity to speak before the same board member can speak again. Everyone is capped at a maximum of 10 minutes per speech. Once everyone has gone through, and they don't have to use 10 minutes, that's their option, then you'll move on to the second opportunity to speak. At that time, they have another 10 minutes. Once they're through twice, then that concludes the debate discussion, and then the board can move on to its next portions of its agenda.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm going to support the motion to issue notice of non-renewal this evening because this has been the sentiment of the board since May of 2023. The actions of today were set in motion by a discussion in March. At that time, a board member rightfully raised the need for the board to discuss Dr. Taylor's contract because this board had the opportunity this year to extend Dr. Taylor's contract. In preparation for a discussion around this, board members were given the opportunity to review Dr. Taylor's prior 3 years of evaluations. So from 2019 to 20, 20 to 21, and 21 to 22. On May 1st, 2023, a special meeting was convened to discuss extending Dr. Taylor's current contract. The board majority made a decision not to extend Dr. Taylor's current contract, and based on observations from his evaluations, the board majority also made the decision to put forth a request to discuss terms for a mutual separation to Dr. Taylor on May 2nd. The request was denied by Dr. Taylor. After completion and review of Dr. Taylor's 2022-23 evaluation, which occurred in June of this year, the board reaffirmed its decision to pursue a mutual separation. This was also communicated to Dr. Taylor, and the proposal was denied again. In total, since the May 1st meeting, the majority of the board has sought a mutual separation with Dr. Taylor on at least 3 separate occasions. Our position on the need for a change of leadership has remained steadfast and consistent throughout this process. There was a sense of urgency in calling this meeting tonight. The board received a vote of no confidence from Somaya last week. 90% of their voting members have called for immediate notice of non-renewal of Dr. Taylor's employment as superintendent. The community has also spoken as the board recently received a petition with over 450 signatures calling for Dr. Taylor's non-renewal. We feel an obligation to listen to our educators, who are the backbone of this district and who are with our children each and every day. Their resounding message was conveyed last week through a vote of no confidence in Dr. Taylor's leadership, which further solidified and reaffirmed the board's position that we've had since May. I'd like to discuss the critical matter of superintendent evaluations, as witnessed by not only the current board, but also the 3 preceding ones under which Dr. Taylor has served under. The prior 3 years of Dr. Taylor's evaluations have been thoughtfully reviewed by the sitting board, and we have collectively authored his 4th evaluation from this school year. When the board reviews a superintendent district goals, there are 3 ratings which the superintendent can be given. The goal can be achieved, satisfactory progress has been made on this goal, or little to no progress has been made on this goal. During Dr. Taylor's time in our district, he has been evaluated against a total of 17 district goals. And during this time, he has never attained an achieved rating on any of these 17 goals. Instead, the majority of these assessments consistently indicate little to no progress or satisfactory progress made. Our district has fallen short of meeting its curriculum and instruction goals during 3 out of Dr. Taylor's 4 years as superintendent. For 3 years, these goals have consistently been rated as showing little to no progress on the C&I initiatives, a concern especially considering the heightened focus that should have been placed on curriculum and instruction due to the disruptions caused by the COVID pandemic. In addition to the district goal performance assessment, the superintendent is evaluated based on 6 leadership standards. The ranking of the 6 leadership standards are as follows: exemplary, proficient, area for growth, and unsatisfactory. Dr. Taylor has been given an area for growth rating on 4 of these 6 leadership standards throughout his entire tenure. Leadership standard 1, mission, vision, and core values. Effective educational leaders should advocate, enact, and communicate a shared mission, vision, and core values of high-quality education that promotes each student's academic success and well-being. In 3 out of the 4 years, Dr. Taylor was rated as area for growth on this standard. Leadership standard 4, curriculum, instruction, assessment, and school improvement. Effective leaders should develop and support an intellectually rigorous and coherent system of curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and act as agents of continuous improvement to promote each student's academic success and well-being. Throughout his 4 years, the board consistently rated Dr. Taylor as area for growth on this leadership standard. Leadership standard 5, community of care, equity, and family engagement. Effective education leaders should engage families and the community in meaningful and beneficial ways while cultivating an inclusive, caring, and supportive school community that promotes the academic success and well-being of each student. Dr. Taylor received a rating of area for growth on this leadership standard for 3 of the 4 years. Leadership standard 6, professional capacity, community of school district personnel. Effective educational leaders should develop the professional capacity and practice of school district personnel, fostering an engaged community of teachers and professional staff to promote each student's academic success and well-being. Dr. Taylor has consistently been rated as area for growth for all 4 years. These evaluations paint a sobering picture, one that underscores the need for a reevaluation of our leadership and a renewed commitment to the success of our students and the well-being of our community. Dr. Taylor's performance patterns show that he is not consistently meeting the basic standards that our educators, students, and district families deserve. The board's most important job is to govern and oversee the superintendent, and we take this role very seriously. I'm committed to making decisions as a board member that prioritize the best interests of our students, our educators, and our district families. And my vote this evening will wholeheartedly reflect this commitment. Thank you. Board Member Vadlamani.
So let's start with the most basic thing out here. This is not a referendum on the superintendent. Let me repeat that again. This is not a referendum on the superintendent. This is not whether 95% or 90% of SOMEA members voted or did not vote. Yes, they did, but this is not about that. This is not about the superintendent who supported a far-reaching, but maybe an unfinished policy, trusting that the board would do the job, which it did not do. This is a referendum on a soon-to-be lame duck board. This is which is taking enormous consequences for all of us. One day before the general election, this is about soon to be a lame duck majority, seeing their majority slipping away. This is about soon to be a lame duck majority that has scheduled a meeting after Shabbat, as many have pointed out, and also on a day when most parents, who are probably the biggest stakeholders, are out of town. And this is the same majority, do not forget, who tried to fire Principal Sanchez and Assistant Superintendent Bodner under similar circumstances. We could have achieved the right outcome for our district easily by following a process, not jeopardizing our educational talent pipeline and not creating financial risk for the district. So I'm going to talk about three main topics here. Number one is the actions of the board are a huge risk for our school district, financially and with potential litigation. Number two, how do we attract top talent to our schools, the next superintendent or principal, given how we're treating the existing staff? And number three, the democratic processes are being overturned, soon to be lame duck. Is that the right thing to do? So now let's look at the detail of this, right? I mean, let's look at the practical part of it. Leave the ideology aside. If you look at the financial impact of this disastrous meeting, if you pass these resolutions, we'll pay our current superintendent about $160,000 between now and June 30th. Then we'll pay the assistant superintendent another $70,000 for doing the same job. And while doing that, we'll probably have a search firm which will pay maybe about $150,000 to get an interim and the lucky superintendent who shows up here next time. All put together, it's about $400,000. Our teachers' payroll is about 80 million. 0.5% of that is $400,000. You know, so let's make a deal here. Let's skip all this whole thing, go home and pay them 0.5% right now. I mean, that's what we want, right? We get to pay the teachers more and everyone is happy. But obviously, we're not going to do that because this is ideologically driven and not practically driven. After seeing the uncaring majority in action, which sensible career-conscious superintendent will ever want to come here? Do you think the future superintendent will want to get vilified online? Do you think they'll want to be taunted and treated unprofessionally by the board? No, the school, they'll give our school district a wide berth. So for a generation or more, we will have the best talent stay away from this dysfunctional board majority. This meeting has been called to make a mockery of our democratic process. This is my third point, right? And not just SOMA's democratic process. This is American democratic process. Nobody invites somebody one business day before general election and make big changes. Now, I think that the board president and the second vice president are making Mitch McConnell look like a rookie out here. And finally, the irresponsible behavior opens up. This is probably the biggest thing. Opens up to lawsuits from the current superintendent. I mean, do you really think that he's asking to be shamed in public because he loves to get pain? Obviously not. This is public exhibit A in the lawsuit he'll file against us tomorrow morning, or whenever the court's open. That may be millions of dollars. What we should do is just go to the Board of School Estimates and just ask them to write a check. I think that's probably much easier. Thanks.
Dr. Telesford.
I guess here we go again. I guess as I stated something on Monday, and I would like to preface my statement first. I've spoken about my experiences as a Black student in this district and also as a Black man on this board. And when I did mention those things, my experience was denied and dismissed. And so when I speak again, I would ask that you do not call attention to yourself and say, well, I experienced something. You don't use Black children as props, because when I spoke about my experience as a Black child in this district, it was just dismissed. So I'll repeat again what I said on Monday. I do not think this board as currently constructed is a safe place for Black men. I say that as our first Black male board president was labeled a physical threat with statements like, "I don't know what he's going to do to me." That kind of dog whistle is dangerous. And that same type of energy was directed at me when I was targeted by toxic elements of this board. It went on for months, and I had the opportunity for retribution. And no, Arun did not save you. I did. I had the opportunity to vote you out as for second vice president, and I chose to sip out because I don't want to be part of those toxic elements. And what was my reward? The following year, into this year, you came after me still. That's why we don't have our board attorney, we have Patrick right now, because that toxicity kept going. And after that toxicity kept going, it now is transferred to the superintendent. So yes, why are we doing this? I'm questioning. To what end? Is it about the election? Is it about handcuffing the next board so they can't make any decisions? Or is it about ginning up support so that you can get people to go to vote for something else? We've abandoned all reason and decency. To what end? And I don't understand. And I'll also say, I don't trust a single statement from the executive committee. You just mentioned Dr. Taylor's evaluations, saying on 7 different points, he has never had achieved. Some of those things are long-range facility plan. You can't finish that in 1 year. It takes several years. So when it's satisfactory, that's because progress is being made and we're moving towards the end. So to point that out is yet another misrepresentation by this leadership. And as I said, I do not trust any statements from our leadership because they will make false statements in public and then will not retract, will not correct the record, and just let things go on. And I'll just give you an example. We had a federal audit that began monitoring this past June, and upon hearing this announcement, the first vice president asked, why were we not informed about the fact that this audit was occurring until now? And I would understand Board Member Malaspina saying that because she's asked these types of questions many times and it's been very obvious that he hasn't been paying attention and she was wrong. However, for the board president to now back her up and then send out a statement to local media and say, yes, I did not hear about this until our June FFT meeting, really set me back because I sent you an email immediately after saying, look, here's an email where the entire board was informed of this audit. You should retract your statement and correct the record. My email was ignored and there was no correction. But you know who corrected the record? Dr. Taylor did. He provided the letter that we got in January and also the meeting minutes from the FFT meeting which you were attended where he actually told us about the audit. So for you to say, oh, I did not know something occurred is completely false. And when given the actual facts to tell you to correct the record, you don't. So as far as I'm concerned, anything coming from the leadership of this board, I don't believe. And the reality is this just hurts our district. It really does, because we're not going to attract any new talent here. And the same type of mistreatment that I've seen directed at Dr. Taylor, I've seen also directed at our SLT. And we already saw what happened last May. And we're seeing that yet again. It's a cycle. So again, here we go again. It's just more of the same ridiculousness. And my question is, how do we move forward? How are we going to, as a community, going to attract new talent? Because we're setting ourselves back yet again.
Thank you, Dr. Telesford. I guess I'll just go around since we started this way. Did Board Member Gifford, did you want to say anything? You don't have to. No one has to say anything, but if you want to, you're able to do so.
No, are you leading them by telling them they don't have to say anything? They're free to do whatever they want.
I know, I put him on the, okay. I didn't want to put him on the spot if he wasn't prepared to say anything, that's all.
This meeting is a big meeting. You better show up prepared to speak something about it. The very fact you're not prepared means
All right, does anybody else care to speak this evening?
Board
Does anybody else?
Board Member Wingfield's arm is up.
Board Member Wingfield.
I am disgusted, but I cannot say that I am remotely surprised by what has manifested this evening. When we were all in the room together last May, I warned the community to pay attention, that there was a plan, and that that plan was already in motion by the time that we had come together on May 11th. The problem is their plan relied on Dr. Taylor to capitulate and to just go away quietly with an inadequate payoff that was being offered. Dr. Taylor is a lifelong educator. He has served not only in this district, but districts all over the state. And he has dedicated his entire life's work to serving children and families. So for you to want him to crawl off into some hole in the night so that you can select a new superintendent, so that you can select a new high school principal, a new assistant superintendent, your plan didn't work. And even if you succeed tonight, this community has seen exactly who you all are and who you have all been all along. Because why would Dr. Taylor ever accept your cheap offer? The reality is that he is a superintendent who came into our district in the nation and the world's most challenging time that education has ever seen. And while imperfect, like every leader in the entire country navigating through COVID, he led our community through an unbelievably terrifying and uncertain time, and did so while simultaneously managing some of the most complex, adaptive, and snarly, thorny initiatives that any district has ever taken on. Not only in terms of the long-term or the long-range facilities plan, but in terms of an unprecedented integration plan that he has successfully seen us in growing and establishing in our district. He has shown you and this community his evaluations. You can have time to go back and read them. And while our board president may try to cherry pick things here and there is nothing wrong with identifying areas of growth. It's the responsibility of a board to give their employee things to work on, things to consider, things that they want to see grown or further developed in the subsequent year. But the reality is that this superintendent met all of his district goals, that there was adequate progress made in all of the district goals for the entire time that I have served on this board. So why would he take your cheap offer to go away when he stands on a record that is beyond satisfactory? And so when you weren't able to find a real rationale to justify the removal of the superintendent, you had to go trump one up. And the reality is that you have presented this community with a letter from our teachers union of no confidence, and given our superintendent exactly zero opportunity and zero due process to be able to provide a rebuttal with enough time for this board and this community to consider the nuances of the very serious accusations that have been leveled, and the nuances and the data that rebuts many of those arguments that have been made in that letter. And so we show up tonight in the most ridiculous circumstances that anyone could ever imagine, on a Friday night, before a vacation, before an election, to try and get rid of our superintendent, to try to sully his name and his reputation, and to try to create a set of circumstances that will bind the future board from being able to engage in a fair and thoughtful process, to be able to review all of the documents that we've had the benefit of reviewing, and ultimately make a decision about whether or not to renew the superintendent's future employment. None of this tonight is necessary. We are not under any deadline that we need to meet tonight in order to make that decision. We are meeting tonight because you do not trust this community to vote representation onto this board come January who will partner with you to make this decision. That is unacceptable. That is shameful. So to be honest, tonight, I think that we're here to vote for the wrong thing. I think tonight what we need to be considering is the immediate resignation of our board president and our first vice president immediately. Thank you.
Sorry. Does anyone who has not spoken care to speak? Oh. Board Member Gifford.
You know, the rhetoric that I'm hearing, this is just troubling. I mean, you know, despicable. We see who you really are. These are just, you know, personal attacks, and that's not what this discussion should be about. Patrick told us it should be about the outcome of this decision. And, you know, I've collaborated with Dr. Taylor. He's a likable guy. But that doesn't what qualifies you for this job. You know, and we have done some good things together, but you know, as a parent, when the union of this district, 90% is telling me this is not the guy, I don't feel safe sending my son back to school after the break. And look, we didn't want to be here. We didn't want to be here on our Friday night. I know my wife didn't either. You know, because but listen, even the people that have come against this decision have found it hard to come to Dr. Taylor's defense. And to be honest, I was on the fence, but you know, he lost me with that presentation, to be honest. I think you know, and I have reached across the table. You know, I have worked with board member Wingfield on policy, and I have gotten a lot of flack for it. You know, it's not easy. A lot of people say that on the campaign trail, you know, I'm going to reach across. It's not easy to do it, you know, but I think we're in a moment right here. Everybody in this room has been in a moment in a relationship, and you can try as hard as you want to make it work, and it's not working. It's clear that how can we go any further after that presentation? I know there's going to be 3 new board members, and that's great. I can't wait to collaborate with them. But in my opinion, we're at an impasse, and I think it's time to press the restart button and have new leadership here.
Board Member Malespina.
Is it me? I appreciate your comments, Mr. Gifford, and I stand with the board president in her statements, and I stand with the teachers, and I stand with the community members, and I have spent 3 years here fighting for the children, and it hasn't gotten any better. It is time for a change. It has been a long time coming, and we have seen what I think is getting lost here is those evaluations are not just from us. They are from the previous boards. The previous iterations of the board said they don't agree with what he is doing and that his evaluations were poor. So we're not talking about just this board, the board prior to that. The board that gave him a raise with an evaluation that was poor. So we need to really think about what is going on here and why these decisions are being made. And I support the teachers. That you have come out, you have stated what you need, and I support it.
Board Member Deval Wilson.
Yeah, I just want to say I support the board president. Thank you, Board Member Malaspina and Gifford for the things that you said, and thank you to Dr. Telesford, Arun, and Courtney for your, sorry. And thank you to all the board members for their feedback. I don't have much to say. I think it's already been mostly said. I've enjoyed my time on the board doing what I think I was voted in to do, which is to govern and collaborate and partner with across everybody. I mean, I talked to all of the board members. And I hope that the future three, whoever they are, I plan to do the same with them. I stand with teachers. They are with our students every day. And I just want to say, I know it takes a lot to have teachers who are being paid by this district to speak out. I know it takes a lot. I have teachers in my family. I get it. It's not easy, and I respect all of you for what you've done. I know it's not easy. I respect all the parents, all the community members who have come out. I understand that we all have very, very emotional reactions to this, and you know, we have all. We're the ones with the information. We're in it day in and out, and it isn't always easy decision for most of the work that we do. And I take my role very seriously. And I know that Dr. Taylor and I have had some really wonderful moments in our EC meetings collaborating. And I always thought that he enjoyed chatting with me because, you know, I appreciated the partnership. And that's what I always thought it was from the beginning, was we're trying to partner. But sometimes those partnerships aren't always reciprocated. And maybe that was my naivete on that because I always give it 200%. So thank you.
I just want to thank all the board members for providing their feedback. I'm going to be honest, I don't have much to say because I think, you know, Board President Whitletter pretty much captured all of my sentiments. And actually, Bill, you touched on something that I think is really important to highlight. This is not about Dr. Taylor not being a good person or anything like that. The board's most important job is to govern and oversee the superintendent. And regardless, you know, I think there's a difference of opinions of who takes the role seriously and who doesn't. But I am committed to making these decisions as a board member that prioritize the best interests of our district families, our students, and our teachers. We've just heard from them. And you know, I have to admit, I am disappointed as to, listen, we all don't want to be here. I don't care what everyone thinks, that like, we all want to be here the Friday before a holiday. We don't. And during Shabbat, as many people mentioned, we don't.
This is a meeting for the board. Thank you all for being here, but please be respectful. We would like our board members to be able to speak. Board Member Eckert has not spoken yet this evening. Please be respectful.
But what I saw earlier this evening, I don't even have words to describe it. This became attack on our board president. What I've heard from other board members, it has just become an attack on our board president, our executive committee, and I, you know, quite frankly, you know, being a board watcher for a number of years, this could have been called out year over year, and yet it wasn't. And so I want everyone to recognize where all the vitriol is coming from, where it's not just the dysfunction of this board majority, in which I know that that narrative is out there. We are all trying to work together. I too have reached across the table. I too have tried to work with folks. And, you know, it's just very disheartening when you see this kind of stuff going on. I will continue to do it because I have two years and 2 months left, and I will absolutely do it. I will do it with the 3 new board members that are sworn in. And quite honestly, I do hope it gets better. I think we all do. So the narrative that we don't want to work together, we don't want to do this, I just ask that this stops immediately. And that's all I have to say, but my vote will wholeheartedly show the support to the students, the educators, and our communities.
We're here because it's necessary. It's necessary for our children. This vote tonight is for the students and the children of this district. All we want to do is come here and defend adults who have brought harm to our children. Listen, you don't have great pedagogy when you have 2 high schools in existence. They still exist. And a C&I department that has failed to change the narrative of what's happening to our children. The Fergus report, there's so many things that have gone awry. And when we sit here and we talk about board members and what they've gone through, no one has gone through more than I have while sitting on this board. And let me say that there is a difference between men and males. I'm gonna say that again. There's a big difference between men and males. And so what I want to say tonight is this vote is very, very necessary for our district. You can say what you want, do what you will. I am in agreement with our board president. This narrative was not supposed to be about her this evening. I have to take a page out of Mr. Guilford's book. This was not what I was expecting to hear and to see. The attack on the executive board who is trying the best that they can to deliver services. And the other thing, my being a former teacher in this district, I know what it takes to come forward and speak up on behalf of children. You have to feel that pain. And when you feel that pain and it's sharp enough, that's when you speak up. And this isn't the first time that I have been a part of this. Is the first time me sitting in the horseshoe, being a part of a vote of no confidence. So we've had it here before. So what do? Continue in the same vein, or do we change? That's the question.
Dr. Telesford, this will be your second time speaking. Second.
I just want to say that, as I said, I would bring up my experience, and I said, please don't dismiss it and then say, what about me? That's exactly what you did, board member, right? You said, what about me? And you dismissed what I was talking about. Yes, it was. You did this. This is the third
Guys,
time
we're
it's
not
happened.
engaging in a back and forth.
Right.
Do you have anything to
Yes.
address about what the topic is, the resolution?
Yes, the topic
Not
of the
about board members. We're talking about the resolution.
Okay, I'm not going to have my language hindered here. I've been targeted as a board member. Maybe that's why you can say, oh, we have a board that doesn't work together, but you've not been targeted as a board member. You have not had someone say, why are you talking to the superintendent? Your conversations are inappropriate just for setting up board agendas for committee meetings. You have not had board members accuse you of leaking information and saying, I want an investigation of you. So until you have those things where you're being targeted, you can't say, oh, well, there's just rhetoric. It's not just rhetoric. It's very hard to focus on the students when our board is so toxic.
Guys, okay, everyone, listen.
And please
Guys,
stop
we're
talking.
The majority.
The board is toxic.
Guys, okay, with all due respect to the community that's here this evening, this is a meeting of the board. So board members, please direct your comments to the board.
I think
in
the reason
regards
why
to the
this board is so
resolution, and please
toxic is
don't address the
because
community and vice versa.
the reason why this board is so toxic is because we have a very large contingent led by social media. They only care about their voters. All of you that came out for saying, oh, don't do this, if you're not voting with them, they don't care what you think. Yes. We can have this decision in January, and if, as they say, his evaluations are so horrible, we will get a new superintendent. But we can just let that process go through. But instead, we're trying to rush things through. Let me ask you, how many of you actually read the rebuttal to the Somea on no confidence letter? And thoroughly.
Yes.
You, No, 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 not the letter, the rebuttal. Right. What?
All right, we need,
So
all right. We need to have order because this is discussion among the board. So at this point, please let the board finish its discussion.
So you read the so you read this rebuttal in less than 2 hours? And then you've already come to your decision? No, I think you've already came to your decision. You actually need time to actually respond to things and actually digest things. And I don't see that happening here. I actually watched you look at that video, and when that video began, I watched all of your heads down. And then I saw your head slowly go up because you said, okay, I guess I should pay attention. We're here rushing through a decision that can wait. Three of us will not be here. 3 of us will not be here. 2 of us are outgoing. Do you not trust the 3 new board members coming on? Is that the issue? Because they can make the same decision that we're making tonight. But is there a real reason? Is there a crime that has been committed? Is Dr. Taylor embezzling funds? Is there any sort of sexual misconduct going on? No. Yes, serious matters would demand put him on administrative leave. But right now, we don't have anything. We don't have any sort of serious allegations, nothing illegal. We don't have any of that. Yet you're saying we need to remove the superintendent right now.
Thank you, Dr. Telesford. Any other comments from, okay, Board Member Wingfield?
Yeah, I'm confused as to why we're taking an action like this that puts our district at such unbelievable risk for litigation. Anybody who has ever supervised or been in a managerial position understands the concept of progressive discipline and understands the idea that in order to be able to take such a serious step, let alone get to the point where you want to non-renew. But this is not the same thing as a non-renewal. We are voting tonight to put our superintendent on administrative leave. That means that effective tonight, he is no longer able to serve in his capacity. And we have to take emergency actions to be able to appoint someone to serve temporarily until that matter is resolved. That is a move that has been reserved for the most serious of accusations and investigations for leaders. We not only do not have anything, but contrary to Ms. Malaspina's constant barrage of lies, we don't have a superintendent who has any poor consistent performance in his evaluation. Conversely, we have a superintendent who for consecutive year over year over year has satisfactory meeting of goals for all of his district goals. So any attorney is going to review this case and is going to quickly determine that this board took action that was not in any way commiserate with the kind of data that it had available to them in order to make this decision. So whether you like the superintendent or not, there is a process that we should all be measuredly engaging in, where we allow the board to go through the process to determine whether or not the renewal is going to take place. That is not to be happening tonight. That is intended to be happening somewhere in advance of the 120 days required as per the contract. This is going to put our district with 100% certainty at risk of litigation. We are going to 100% be sued as a result of the actions taking place here tonight. So in addition to the funds that we're going to have to spend to compensate an increase in pay, in addition to the funds that I hope we're going to be spending to figure out how to backfill that position, because I'm also very confused about how taking a leader who is one of the primary drivers of our Black Parents Workshop settlement bodies of work removing him from that role and instead putting him as our chief school administrator, I'm not really clear how that syncs up with this board's commitment to ensure that those 23 recommendations are adhered to with all deliberate speed. But nevertheless, we are making unbelievably rash decisions that, for me and my experience with this particular board, are consistent with a theme of urgency without competency. And that is what we are going to see send us not only back to 2013, where we're starting all over again, but worse than that, is going to send us to a place where we owe somebody hundreds of thousands of dollars for wrongful adverse employment action tonight.
Board Member Vadlamani.
So I find this very interesting that most people who are here to support the president are parents with children in the district. It is especially parents who've shown up, who had children grow through the district. It's very telling. I mean, I don't know what the real reason there is, but the parents have shown up here, and very few parents, if at all, are here to go the other side. Also, all our municipal partners spoke in favor of delaying this vote or having President Subrin stay on. Everyone, right from President of South Orange, the mayor of Maplewood has spoken multiple times, the trustees, everyone on the board has said that. And they're not stupid about this because they care about our two towns' reputation. We are going to diminish our reputation based on this one single act. This board is a reputational risk. And in finance, we talk about taking risk to have a certain amount of outcome. They say high risk, high reward. It's very clear that this whole action is high risk with no reward. There is no plan to do what we want to do next. There is no plan to do anything else, and we're rushing into it. And finally, now, many of you worked in large companies, you've seen managers and employees and so on. I've always had a low opinion of managers who throw their employees under the bus, because it's your job as a manager to protect your employee and make sure the employee thrives. And this board has thrown their only employee under the bus.
Thank you so much, Board Member Vadlamani. So I just wanted to make sure that we put out some facts just about the costs associated with this, because it is important that we clear this up. So NJSBA, I reached out to them today. I had reached out earlier in the year when we were having these conversations. The most expensive search when you do a superintendent search through the NJSBA, on the high end, their most expensive search is $12,500. Other search firms, it's anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 if you were to go outside of the NJSBA. And currently, we do know what the additional pay would be for acting. And that pay, if this person were to be in the position through the end of June, is under $30,000. It's $28,945. If we were in fact to, at some point, bring in an interim, interims make about $20,000 a month, roughly. So let's say, the high end, based on the timeline of what we've agreed to thus far, the high end we'd be looking to spend to bring in an interim is $127,000. Because Dr. Taylor's salary is already baked into the budget. So those funds are already spoken for. So I just wanted to make sure that when we're thinking about the costs associated with this, that the board members have this information at our fingertips, and I just wanted to make sure that that was available to the public. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to
Sorry,
call
hang
to
on. I need to
question,
refute.
Patrick.
I
I'd like
need
to
to
make a
refute
motion to call to question on this resolution.
I need to refute your numbers. They're all lies,
Alderman, it's
made up
Alderman,
lies.
it's point of
I'm
order.
happy to provide
Stop.
basic numbers.
Patrick, I made a motion to call to question.
I'm telling you,
So
your numbers are all made up. She's lying. I mean, I'm happy to prove you public information. This is not something I'm pulling out of my pocket and calculating. This is publicly available information about how much one person makes and how much the other person makes. The spread is $70,000. 3/4 of $70,000 is $52,500. I don't know how you can narrow it down. Think about it. It's not complicated. This is not some crazy math. This is just arithmetic.
Okay, so At this point, this is the public discussion regarding Dr. Taylor pursuant to the rights notice. So if there's no one else, then we'll just conclude the discussion and move on to the agenda items. So that's where we're at now. So you need a motion to move the items.
Motion to move.
Second.
I want to
Okay,
sever each one of them
resolution-
separately, please.
Sorry, hold on one second,
I
please.
would like to-
Resolution 4536. You would.
I would like to sever each one separately so we can vote on it separately and we can see how each person is voting.
Okay, so we will be severing resolution 4536 A, B, and C.
Good, thanks.
So we will now put I'll make a motion to put resolution 4536 A on the table for discussion. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
No. So it's already, it's a motion to pass it. So
Okay.
at this point,
Oh, we're just
it's a discussion, questions and comments on the pending motion. And just so that everyone can be clear, what is
I was
A?
going to read it. Yep. So resolution 4536A says, be it resolved that the board hereby places Dr. Ronald Taylor, superintendent of schools, on administrative leave from November 3rd, 2023 through June 30th, 2024.
So now it's time for the discussion.
Board Member Badlamani.
So this is the last opportunity you have to walk back before you throw the district under the bus, along with the superintendent. I'm not making any dire decisions based on, again, I've been very clear about this. I don't care how the next board treats the superintendent, but at this point in time, if you choose to go ahead with what you think you want to go ahead with, you're opening up our district to enormous amounts of risk from litigation, reputational risk, and not to forget, loss in trust. No one's going to show up here. This is the last opportunity. So think twice. I mean, yes, you'll take a vote and you'll walk around and claim, no, whatever you claim, but think.
I know that we always talk about the parents and the teachers, but we really need to think about the taxpayers and the financial burden that you're going to bring to this district. I know since it's not your money, it's easy, but we really should be thinking about the taxpayers and how we've already raised their taxes by increasing transportation. And so we just got our tax assessments this week, and I guess many of us had that sticker shock. And our schools are going to cost much more money if we continue down this path.
To that point, yes, we all did get our tax assessments and some people's taxes went up. And I believe a lot of community members said, where's my ROI when it comes to our schools?
So this follows the Robert's rules. You have Board Member Wingfield before we get back to the additional people that spoke.
Board Member Wingfield.
Yeah, I just want to make two comments before we vote on this. I think the first one is that, Bill, I really appreciated working with you on the access and equity policy. I think that it was a good collaboration, but I want to draw attention to the fact that at least half of what is currently in Somaya's vote of no confidence is related to that policy that was co-authored by you and by me and supported by Board Member Telesford, Dr. Telesford. And I hope in your good conscience that you can sleep at night if you vote to put someone on leave and throw him under the bus for something that you and I primarily drove. So I need to let you know that, and I hope that you vote accordingly. Secondly, Caitlin, I need to understand from your perspective, since you initiated the presentation of cause for this action tonight, I need to understand from your perspective what your understanding of the use of administrative leave is in the state of New Jersey. And what is your understanding of the use of progressive discipline in relationship with an action such as administrative leave?
There's no answer at the time, so Board Member Wingfield, you can continue.
I'm waiting for her response. I'm asking for her as board president to explain to the community what her understanding of the use of administrative leave is, which is what we're about to vote on, and how she understands the use of administrative leave without progressive discipline to be a sound decision as is presented in this resolution.
What'd you say? Sorry.
If that's all, there won't be an answer, we can call the next person.
I'll just call the next person. Dr. Taylor would go on administrative leave through June 30th of this year. We would be bringing on an acting superintendent internally, and the board can actually go out to notice after this evening a position for an interim superintendent, and we are at will to bring in an interim superintendent. So we will move on to the next individual, but no, does anyone else who has not spoken on this topic care to speak? No, okay. With that, I'd like to call to, okay, Dr. Tellisford.
You asked about the ROI on this community. I'm a former student of this community. When I was in this school system, it was a segregated school system. And I was placed in lower level classes without even looking at, I was placed in lower level classes without any regard for my actual performance in school. And I would have to perform better than everybody just to get to what they call the top classes. When I came here and we moved back to this community, it was still the same. And in 2018, we started to actually see that shift away from that. We also saw the intentional integration initiative, where we moved to change the segregation in our community. I think that is a pretty good ROI. Because many of the things that I saw here as a student, they have changed now, and they are changing them, and they're currently changing them ongoing at this moment. So to say that our schools are, one of my biggest issues when I hear people kind of denigrate our schools, saying our schools suck, which is what I hear when you say, where's our ROI? When you ask that question, you're basically saying our schools are no good. Our schools are amazing, and they've gotten better. And as someone that came through this entire system and seeing as it is now, we've come a long way, and we're going to keep going a long way.
I just want to say thank you for sharing your experience. I appreciate it.
Board Member Gifford.
Yeah, I'm actually, proud of the work that we did together, Courtney, on the de-leveling, and not a lot of people agreed with it. But I can remember specifically in the policy meeting, in one of our last policy committee meetings, I said to Dr. Taylor, if this is to be successful, we need to do a presentation, we need teacher buy-in. And his response was, I don't do presentations for first read, and we are engaging the teachers. And we didn't do both. And that was a disservice to the policy itself, something that I believed in. And if you want to talk about, being hung up to dry, I was hung up to dry when Dr. Taylor asked me to do a new policy process because it would help the central office to get us in compliance. And I had to defend that. And he did not come to my defense with that. And I was trying to help him. So I will sleep very well tonight. And this whole thing about, who are we going to find? No one's going to want to come here. Go read the New York Times. All right. Everybody wants to come here. No, they do. People are going to want to come here. This is a dynamic community, and any administrator would want to take on this challenge. But my question to you about who's going to want to come here, what motivated me to run for the board, I had friends who were teachers. They're not in district anymore. They're not in district. Greg Tuttle. Come on. What a great teacher, right? And he couldn't stay. And that's just one of so many teachers. So I would ask you, what teacher is going to come here when their union says, hey, this isn't the guy. And then you know what we say? We as a board say, nah, we're going to take him back, get back to work. I don't believe that. When I'm thinking about the majority, you know, this is one guy. How many teachers do we have in this district? And you guys are the boots on the ground. You guys are the boots on the ground. And listen, and really, come on, guys, let's not make this personal, all right? Everybody should be talking about what the outcome, the lies, and Bill, are you gonna sleep tonight? I can tell you, I'm gonna sleep tonight. But let's, seriously, Arun, you know, Dr. Telesford, let's focus on the outcome right now. I know we do not agree on the
Please
decision being made.
Don't pull me into your nightly sleep, okay?
But
Please don't.
all right. But let's seriously, let's keep the focus on what the outcome is going to be.
Patrick,
I still don't
think
believe that
everyone.
this board understands the legal action that they're taking. And I think that until we understand whether.
Patrick, can we?
Vote in January.
I don't think
Make
that
a
this
motion to
board
vote on this now?
understands the
Yeah.
legal
So,
action. It's
Mr.
about
Burnside,
taking-
can you take roll
putting
call
our
on
district at risk.
resolution
This board does not
4536A,
understand the legal action.
please? Thank you.
Four, 536A. Board Member Deval Wilson,
Yes.
Board President Whitletter,
Yes.
Board Member Johanna Wright,
Yes.
Board Member Telesford,
No.
Board Member Malaspina,
Yes.
Board Member Vadlamani,
No.
Board Member Wakefield,
No, and shame on you.
Board Member Ackert,
Yes.
Board Member Gifford,
Yes.
motion passes.
Shame, 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 shame.
The next motion's on the agenda. You need someone to move it.
I move the motion.
Motion 4536B, do I have a second? Thank you, Board Member Deval Wilson. This resolution reads, be it resolved that the board hereby provides notice of non-renewal of Dr. Ronald Taylor's contract. The board attorney is directed to provide written notice to the superintendent of said non-renewal. Does anyone have any questions or comments to make on that? Dr. Telesford.
You know, we talk about how we need to make a decision tonight, and we actually don't. We talk about our new colleagues that are coming to this board, and you can easily just wait for them to come here and we can make that decision. And again, do we not trust their decision to make the right decision? Or are we afraid that they're not going to do what we want because you think you're not going to vote the way I want them to vote? We don't actually have to make a decision now. There's nothing dire here. And yet we're barraging through here and just trying to say we have to make a decision today. We have to make a decision today. Why not January? Why not the 120 days and prior? Can anyone really answer that question? Because I have not heard anyone say we need to we have this decision today and it can't wait. Why can't the board make this in the future?
It's about our children, that's why. It's about the children. It's about our students.
Please stop using
That's
kids
why
as
we're making this
props.
decision.
Please stop using the kids as props.
The kids, no, that's exactly what we're going to do. Stop using our children for adults. And we know it. Let's continue this vote, please. Let's not delay
We
this
all
anymore.
care about children, so don't
Listen,
imply that we
I'm
don't
not
care about
saying-
children.
I have never said that
Okay.
people don't care
That's
about
the
children. I
implication
know
right
how
now.
I
At this
feel
point, I think we should
about
go to
children,
roll.
and so I think we need to go on and continue this nonsense. Finally.
Can we go to roll on Resolution 4536B, Mr. Bernstein?
Board Member Eckert,
Yes.
Board Member Vadlamani,
No.
Board Member Gifford,
Yes.
Board Member Deval Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Wingfield,
No.
Board Member Telesford,
No.
Board President Whitletter,
Yes.
Board Member Wright,
Yes.
Board Member Malaspina,
Yes.
motion passes.
I'd like to make a motion to open the table for Resolution 4536C. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll read into record. Be it resolved that the board hereby appoints Dr. Kevin Gilbert as acting superintendent effective November 3rd, 2023, pending any necessary approvals by the executive county superintendent. Board Member Vadlamani.
It's sad that we've come to this resolution, but I do want to put it on record that I hope the entire board, I certainly do, support Dr. Kevin Gilbert as the acting superintendent, because our kids, which everyone likes to point out, only succeed when the leader succeeds. So I wish him well, and I hope that he's not treated just like how Dr. Taylor was treated.
Dr. Telesford. Board Member Wingfield, then Dr. Telesford.
I feel very concerned that we are putting yet another Black man in the path of this board majority, even if it's only for 2 more months. We have seen firsthand evidence tonight of exactly what this board leadership does to Black men who do not do their bidding. And so I hope that there are some protections put in place for Dr. Gilbert as he begins this unfathomable task of stepping up at a time that I can't imagine anyone would want to lead our district at this time. And doing so with the best of intentions, but also knowing exactly firsthand himself what this board leadership is like. Furthermore, I would like for this board to be able to explain to the public what its plans are to be able to staff and backfill the Office of Equity and Access inside of our SLT, so that all of those 23 recommendations have not only the attention, but the manpower that we have promised this community. Or are we expecting Dr. Gilbert to do both jobs? Because I don't want to assume that that's not your plan.
They have no clue.
They have no plan.
I see people rolling their eyes whenever they mention anything about the treatment of Dr. Taylor or the treatment of Black men on this board. And yes, you can keep rolling your eyes all you want, but you did call one of the people on this board a physical threat. And he's not a physical threat. He's a married man, has a job, a house. What is he going to do to hurt you physically? He's not going to physically hurt you. He's not a physical threat. So the comments are not out of line, and you can keep rolling your eyes all you want and be angry about that. I know many of you have already planned to go out for drinks like you did last Monday. And
I'd like to respond to that. I'm actually missing
No.
the birth of my niece for this. And it is my son's
you chose this.
weekend. It is my son's
Guys, this is just
weekend.
chose
So
it. You didn't
don't
have to do that.
like I'm going
Guys,
out for
I'm
drinks.
Okay,
I would like this to go to vote because this is
No,
just getting really
I'm
ugly and
still
it's
speaking.
personal attacks against people.
I'm
And
still
we're
talking.
not talking about the resolution.
I didn't bring up anything about it.
I understand, but at this
I
time, if you don't have anything.
Hang on. You stopped nobody else. Why are you
Alright.
stopping him?
Can we?
Because
You stopped nobody else.
It's personal.
They're
patterns.
screaming at us. They're screaming at us. You didn't stop them. I mean, surely you're a good president.
Please, Patrick, can you
Dr.
please-
Telesford has the floor. Let's please let him finish his comment.
I know you're missing your niece's birth or whatever it is. I'm sorry about that.
But with the caveat that this
Yes,
motion
yes,
is
I'm-
to
I
approve
just want
Dr.
to- I
Gilbert.
just want to say I'm sorry
Okay.
about that, yes.
The pending motion is about Dr.
Right.
Gilbert.
There really is no plan on the board. When we met, we asked who can actually do this job, and people didn't know. And when we actually got the list, we knew the list was not a very long list that we could pull from. There was not a very long list that we could pull from. Dr. Gilbert is the only person, and he's a great person because he will step into this role. But we have put the district at serious disadvantage because we had a full SLT, and now we're asking him to do 2 roles. And he has a lot of work on his plate. So you can't just say, oh, well, he's already doing the job. He's doing the job of access and equity. But having to do the job of the superintendent too is a lot of work. And how are we going to fill that stop? Because we've already seen what happens when we are not fully staffed. We have lots of issues. We have lots of complaints about how the district is operating because it's not fully staffed. Now we're fully staffed, and now we're saying, hey, let's pull out the superintendent, move somebody up, and now we have a gap again. So that's something to consider, but I really hope that we do provide support for Dr. Gilbert.
Board Member Malaspina.
No, I have nothing more to say other than to clarify that we are, no, I have nothing to say.
Let's just go to vote, please.
Go on.
Can we go to vote on resolution 4536C?
Board Member Vadlamani.
Yes.
Board Member Telesford.
Yes.
Board Member Gifford.
He's clarifying,
He's clarifying. Excuse.
we're voting on appointing. Gilbert.
Dr. Gilbert, so sorry. Just wanted to make sure. Yes, I'm very excited about it.
Board Member Winkfield.
Yes.
Board Member Wright.
Well, yes.
Board Member Deval Wilson.
Yes.
Board President Whitletter.
Yes.
Board Member Eckert.
Yes.
Board Member Malaspina.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. This concludes the action portion of the meeting, so we're going to move on to new business. Just a reminder, new business is bringing forth topics that are of great urgency. Does anyone have new business this evening? As per our bylaws, anyone have any new business this evening? We only did one public speaks because it's a special meeting, so we only have one. So seeing none, I'm now going to close new business. And with that, I'd like to make the following motion. The Board of School Estimate will be held on Tuesday, November 28th at 6 p.m. The Board of Education will also meet in public session on Thursday, November 30th at 6:30 p.m. May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
That appears to be unanimous. Mr. Burnside, I would now like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting on Friday, November 3rd at 9:26 p.m. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Deval Wilson. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and have a great fall break.
This board is an embarrassment, should be ashamed of itself.